And we're back. Hello, everybody. Nathan Wheeler, founder of Yeshua Network. We are doing part 4 of November 9th, 2024 Q&A. Per the request of folks who have been kind of following along here on today's Q&A session, each part is about an hour long. In our last part, we had a few questions about end times, which I think is rightfully so since we are getting closer and closer to that time period. And so I wanted to go ahead and just open it up while we are doing this. Yeah, I got into a little bit of a car accident. I got hit, and my back is killing me, so it's hard for me to do my job, which is drive my car and Uber for a long period of time. And so, as you can see, at least I'm sitting in a chair. This has a very strong lumbar, and I can kind of wiggle and move around, and so I'm able to do this today with you. So ended up, maybe this was God's will. Maybe that's what He wanted. I hadn't done a Q&A in a while, and I promised I would. So why you guys got me and why I can do it, let's do it, right? Hallelujah. All right, so to kick us off, we have a question from Evangelist Mary, who asked, please can you speak on the Euphrates River? There is a speculation that it has dried up. What is the relationship between the river and end-time Bible prophecy? So that is the prophecy, is that the Euphrates River will dry up. It has been dammed, dammed up, right? And so it is drying up. This is true. Also, certain areas that are just full on been dry desert for 1,000 years are starting to get crazy amounts of rain to where they're starting to create like little puddles and lakes and stuff. So it's looking like old days. So these prophecies are absolutely real. And the reason specifically why the Euphrates River situation is important is twofold. The drying up of the Euphrates River plays a role in the War of Armageddon, which is where they cross the Euphrates. They have to be able to take their troops across the Euphrates River to enter into Jerusalem, or to enter into specifically Megiddo, which is where the war or the attack of Armageddon happens at. And so that's the first and foremost reason why Euphrates River drying up is important, is because it allows for the fulfillment of that prophecy to happen. The second part of Euphrates River being specific, and why the Sixth Trumpet War starts there. So I don't know what that means, but it reminds me, if you Google shot heard around the world, I think it was 1776, and it basically started the American Revolution. So it was a shot that basically was the domino to first fall to create, all the other pieces of the puzzle to fall into place for the Revolutionary War of America. And it's called the shot heard around the world. And I have a feeling that that is the same type of thing. There's going to be something, some type of battle, some type of death, some type of attack, some type of bomb drop that's going to happen at a station or a city on the Euphrates River, that's going to cause the spark of the Sixth Trumpet War to happen. So, So that's the two important part of the Euphrates River prophecy. Those things. The war starts at Euphrates River, and also the Euphrates River needs to be able to be crossed in order for the War of Armageddon, which is the war at Megiddo. And if you Google where Megiddo is in Israel, it's a airfield. It's an air base, and it's basically just an open field with an airstrip on it. And that, according to the Bible, is the place where the war comes to its head. And that's where all poop is going to break out. But it never does, because Christ returns. So that's an interesting thing about the War of Armageddon, which at Megiddo. The War of Armageddon, we always watch in the movies, is like the nukes drop and the whole world goes to poop, and there's only like a couple thousand people on Earth living, and we all have to kind of rise from the ashes, and it's all about like taking old copper wires and trying to make a battery out of gum and toothpaste. You know what I'm saying? But that's not true. The War of Armageddon technically never happens, because if it did, the Bible says the world would cease to exist. So the War of Megiddo is where they come to make that attack, but Christ returns instead. So, but it's a bad day. Okay, when the War of Megiddo happens, it's a bad day. It's the day that the world ends. So, is no good. I mean, it's good for us believers because Christ comes back, but for the world's sake, it's a bad day. So, yeah. Therese says, Nathan has been telling everyone to prepare for many years, and he has said in the previous part 4, we are going to be in a very tricky, possibly dangerous times in the next 3 months. Yep, the internet may go down. Yep. Put any info needed to prepare in paper just in case. Yes, that's true. You should do that. The Antichrist won't necessarily be Jewish. Correct, Carrie? The Antichrist doesn't have to be Jewish. I don't even know if the Antichrist will be Jewish. In fact, I think the Antichrist can't be Jewish because if he stands in the temple and he's not a Jew, that's part of the abomination. But they might see him as a Jew. I believe there's two Antichrists. I believe the Jews have their Antichrist, and then I believe the world has its Antichrist. It's a very complicated thing. I cannot explain it to you at this time. We'd have to go through the EBRT, but I am persuaded that the Muslims have their Messiah, the Jews believe they'll have their Messiah, and then the world believes it will have its Messiah. Now, can the Muslim Messiah be the Antichrist? Yes. Can the Jewish Messiah be the Antichrist? Yes. But they could also not be. So the thing about the Antichrist is the Antichrist is the Antichrist to the world, not just to the Muslims and not just to the Jews. So that person is a global Antichrist, right? Which is actually a global hero. That's the weird part about the Antichrist. The Antichrist is a full-fledged, awesome hero. So that's not something I think most of us think about, especially if you watch a lot of Christian-made movies. He's evil and conniving and, you know what I'm saying? But that's not the case. He's charismatic. He's a great speaker. He's likable. He does really good things for the world as far as the world perceives. He's a full-on hero. So according to the world. So that's the thing. That's like, you're like, wait a second. So somebody I might even be like cheering on because like he brings a 6-trumpet war to an end. He brings nuclear holocaust to an end. Like I might be rooting for this guy. Like, yeah, man, thanks for putting an end to that. Yep. That's more of the description of the Antichrist. It's not some guy with red skin and a pitchfork and he's walking around going, I'm going to kill all Christians. No, that's not how he's going to come to the stage, to the theater of the world, as they say. Julie says, isn't there a website where people are mentioned the one world religion will be centralized on the Temple Mount? I don't remember where that website is. I don't think the one world religion will be centralized on the Temple Mount. There might be a website for it, but I'm not sure that would be the case. I believe that that's the new Babylon. The Tower of Babel. Not Babylon. The Tower of Babel. Like, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. You'd have to send me a link. If you find it, send it to me. But I do know that the Jews are very open and wanting the Gentiles to become Jewish when the temple gets built. They will welcome Christians and they will welcome the world to come and participate in their temple. Why wouldn't they? It's more donations, right? And it's more promotion of their culture and their faith and their God. So I do know that the world will be welcome to call the temple of all people, but I wouldn't say that that's a one world religion. There is actually a one world religion created by the one world government, and it already exists. That coalition of religions already exists. It's been around actually since the 80s. But it's really finding its ground and it's really establishing itself. Is it 80s or early 90s? Might be early 90s. If I remember correctly, it was established in San Francisco, of all places. I don't think that that's the home of it, but it was established in San Francisco. For some reason, I'm thinking 1994 or 1984. But yeah, was the one world religion was established. That's where you see those bumper stickers coexist and all that stuff came from that. All right, let's see. Where was I? I lost my place. The website. Oh, unless you're also thinking of Jerusalem or the templeinstitute.org. That's to learn more about the temple being built. That's the official Jewish website for the people who run and will be and are responsible for building the temple. So templeinstitute.org. You can put in Jerusalem Temple Institute and it will come up. Just Google Jerusalem Temple Institute. You will find the official site and they do like a post every 3 days, every 2 days, I think, maybe even every day now. I don't really follow it much myself anymore because I already know where we're at. And I'm like, I don't need to see and torment myself every day with the excitement. Yes, I am very excited for the temple to be built. And you know what's so funny is I had somebody share a video which I watched. It was great. It was a great sermon. Somebody shared a sermon. They thought I would enjoy it. I did. But in it, I think it was that sermon. Maybe it was another one. I might be confusing them because I've not been feeling well lately. But he had talked about how people will be celebrating, Christians will be celebrating the temple, and how that's not biblical, and how they'll be celebrating the temple as if to like worship the temple, or to worship like, or to participate in sacrificing animals for the atonement of sin and stuff like that. And I don't know, maybe a Christian might go and just do that as for the experience, but I don't know. I wouldn't say that that's some type of false spirit. God himself told the Jews to build the temple, the third temple. Christ describes in end times, in the Revelations, the Matthew, I think it is, don't build the outer court, because there you'll be sharing the Temple Mount. So, but he's commanding them to build it. So for any Christian who supports the building of the third temple, I'm of the persuasion that it should be because what you're doing is you're witnessing the ushering back of Christ. You're as a Christian, I'm excited about the third temple being built, not because of the excitement of animals being sacrificed, but because it means my Messiah is returning literally in the next few years. That's why I'm excited, and I should be excited about it. I should want the temple up tomorrow. Why would I not want Christ to return ASAP? So Jerusalem Temple Institute, Google that, you'll get their website, and they're the people who are actually running it and controlling it and have been building it and have already built all the pieces, all the chairs, all the lamps, all the stones. They're already built. They've been built for years. They just needed the heifers and they needed the Cohen. They have the Cohen, they have the heifers. So it's game time, my friends. It is game time. Now, I'm going to say, before we continue any further in this Q&A part 4 here, let me stop blocking my chin. You may learn information in this video that if you research it and you Google it and you read the Bible and you test it, you will realize there's truth that is going to be told. Truth that might be a little hard to hear or extremely hard to hear, especially if you have children. So I'm letting you all know now ahead of time as a Surgeon General warning. If I could flash red lights by my head, I would. So let my hands be the flashing red lights in your eyes. Warning, warning, warning. Truth that is hard to swallow may be mentioned and talked about from this point on in the video. If that is not your cup of tea, you may want to leave now. Okay? Because I mean some very heavy stuff, the heaviest of all topics of conversations, the true end time of the world, will be discussed in this video. So there's I feel clean. I feel like I did my duty. I am a good guy. I'm not a bad guy trying to ruin your day. Okay? I've warned you. There it is. I should put a warning at the bottom, but I don't have the technology to do that at this moment or the time to set that up. But I should do that where I put like a flashing warning sign underneath my face here. All right. Here we go. Suze says, some people say the third temple is actually the physical body of Christians and not a building. Can you quote some scripture that proves it's really a building? Sure. So Suze, let me ask you this though, right? Let me ask you, where did you, I know people do to say that. I'm not saying they don't. I totally know they say that. But let me ask you this. Have you heard somebody say that? And if so, who? And the reason I'm asking you is because that person is like saying some really crazy lies. Like really, like that's just insanity to me. Like, and here's why, right? So let's take a look at Revelation 11:12. Everybody go to their Bible, get out your Bible, open up your Bible app, and go to, where should we start though? Let me see. Wait, is it 11:12? No, 2. Sorry, 11:2. My bad. Not 12:2. My dyslexia kicked in. Okay. Revelations 1, let's start there. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood saying, rise and measure the temple of God, and the altar, and them that worship therein. But the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city they shall tread underfoot 42 months. So right then and there, right? He's literally in the Old Testament. This is how they described the building of the temple, how they built the temple in the old days. So this doesn't make any sense, right? Like there's nothing here that describes a human body. And it says that the people of the world will be treading foot on it. So how is it that if your body is the third temple, how are people walking in your body, right? What? What is that? Like how, what? Right? So the other thing is how are people sacrificing animals in your body? Like are you saying, well, what if you eat food? Is that sacrificing animals in your body? Like what? Like people are there. The abomination of desolation is the Antichrist goes in and tells them to stop sacrificing animals, right? So watch. Watch. So when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by the prophet Daniel standing in the holy place, let the reader understand. Then let those who are in Judah flee to the mountains. So when he's sacrificing it, when he's saying you can't sacrifice animals anymore, when you see the abomination of desolation, so how is the world seeing the Antichrist standing in your holy of holies? And not only that, but what is a human's holy of holy? It sounds like it's a private part, right? But or you could say it's the heart of a person. So how is the Antichrist standing inside every single person? You're like, well, it's an analogy. He's just not. But how is he stopping the sacrifice? Just there's nothing that makes sense. If you say that the holy of holies is your place downstairs, why is there a human standing in it? And then you say, well, the stopping of animal sacrifices. Who's sacrificing an animal in their hoo-hoo area? That doesn't, you could say it's a mouth. You eat the flesh of something, then that might, so is your holy of holies your mouth? No, right? Nothing is more deceitful than men's heart, the Bible says. So is it your heart is the holy of holies? No. Nothing is more deceitful than men's heart. So that's not a holy of holies. So where's the holy of holies, right? Inside a human body. Right? So, and what's sacrificing animals inside the body? So the Antichrist has to stand in the Holy of Holies. That's in the temple. And according to Revelations 11, it says, here's a rod, here's how to measure it, here's what it will look like on the temple mount, but do not measure the outer court. Well, the first two temples had an outer court, and it's saying do not measure an outer court because there's another building in the way. So how do I have another building inside my body that is causing me to not have an outer court? Like, what is my outer court? Is that my skin? So I don't measure my skin? There's no skin? Do you understand what I'm saying? This can't be the human body. It doesn't make, there's zero possibility that this is an analogy for the human body. And so let me put this to you as clear as I can. I'm truly not trying to be rude. The reason why certain denominations and pastors are saying that the body is the third temple is because there's a passage that says, do you not know your body is a temple of God? It's talking about the Holy Spirit residing in us as the Holy Spirit resided in the Holy of Holies and interacted with the high priest. So the Holy Spirit resides in us and interacts with us. But my body is not the third temple where the Jews bring their animal sacrifices. Then somebody will say, well, we're not supposed to bring animal sacrifices anymore because Christ is our atonement, but not for the Jews. The Jews don't receive Christ's. So Christ himself says, build the outer court in Revelation 11, but do not measure the outer court. Or do build the third temple, but do not measure the outer court, because there will be, the Gentiles will be walking all around and there'll be other buildings. So you won't have room. That's a crazy prophecy, because on the Temple Mount, they can't build the outer court because there's a mosque on the Temple Mount. This prophecy was written before the second temple was destroyed. So this is craziness right here. So absolutely cannot be in any way, shape, or form our body is the temple. Nobody's walking inside me and you at the exact same time all over the planet, and the whole world's watching it on TV and then says, I am the reason why this temple got built. You can't sacrifice animals in here anymore. That it doesn't make any sense. And then that's the abomination of desolation. Just this is the silliest thing. And I say this with truly as much love as I possibly can in my heart. If there's any person who you're watching or listening to who has ever said that the body is the third temple, they're absolutely of a false spirit, like a really, really bad false spirit. And I normally don't speak this kind of thing about anybody or anyone, but I would absolutely leave that teaching. I would leave and get out of that relationship and not listen to that person anymore. The level of the ignorance to say that is too, it's not ignorance is my point. The level of somebody being convinced that the third temple is the human body is proof they don't know anything what they're talking about, so much so that it's proof they're doing evil. Anybody who reads the Bible enough to where they're teaching it from a video or a pulpit or anything like that, if they've actually studied the Bible to the point where they're teaching it and they're saying that the body is the third temple, they've moved past the possibility of them being mistaken. It's way too clear. It's way too obvious. No human being is standing in anybody else's body telling us that we're not allowed to sacrifice animals in our body anymore, and we can't build our outer courts of our body because there's another building in the way. Like this isn't possibly an analogy, so it means that they're intentional liars. Do you see what I'm saying? It's so extreme of that they're mistaken it as an analogy that it's not an analogy mistake. It's an intentional lie. This is something I will stand on that mountain and die with. That if somebody is teaching you the temple, the third temple being built is the human body, and thus the third temple being built in Israel is the Antichrist temple or the Satan's temple, they are intentionally lying. Like it's impossible for it to be a mistake. And if they don't know the Bible well enough to where they were told that, they shouldn't be teaching the Bible. Like if they're just regurgitating what their mentor taught them, they shouldn't be teaching the Bible. They should only be teaching the Bible if you know the Bible well enough, especially on a platform of any sort like that. So I hope that helps you. Can't stand in my holy holies, Antichrist, and the whole world's going to see. That's not going to happen. And I don't sacrifice animals inside my bodies. I don't slit their throat and the blood pours out inside my body. I don't have a whole animal in my body being sacrificed. So it's not a thing. Not possible. So I hope that helps. That's Revelation 11, and there's all sorts of, you can Google it. Revelation 13, no, Revelation 24, Daniel. Yeah, the whole caboodle. I hope that helps. Deb, isn't Trump the Antichrist? You'd think so. So it's a fair question. It's a fair question, Deb. So let's take a look at it, right? If Trump was the Antichrist, he would. Let's take a look at this, right? The Antichrist is somebody who shows up into the political world and nobody knows him. There was songs written. There was so much famous songs written about Donald Trump before he was famous. I mean, what's that song? Bill Gates, Donald Trump, let me in, y'all. Let me in, y'all. Or, yo, I want to be balling like Donald Trump. I want that riches like Donald Trump. I mean, there's buildings all over the world with his name on them. The Antichrist is somebody who's a nobody who becomes the somebody of the world overnight. Donald Trump has a pretty big, I've been somebody for a while kind of life. He's been on TV shows and things like that. So is he the Antichrist? I don't know. But let's take a look at also what Donald Trump has done, because this is a fair question to ask. It is. Let's take a look at what he's done. He recognized Jerusalem. He's the first person in human history, in our modern world, to legitimize Israel. He recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, legitimizing officially what was created in 1948, right? Israel, the nation of Israel. The Antichrist will play a role in the building of the third temple, and then say that he is God. He is God, and he has more power than God, and he will tell them to stop sacrificing animals, right? That doesn't seem to me like something Donald Trump is on course to say or to do. I don't see Donald Trump saying he's God. Now, if you're somebody who hates Donald Trump, I could totally think that you could make the joke in your head, well, he thinks he's the greatest at everything. He does think he's the greatest at everything, but he has already acknowledged that God is greater than him. He already acknowledged that Jesus is more famous than him. So the Antichrist never does that, not once. So the Antichrist actually says he's the greatest, more than God, more than Jesus. He says he is God, and he commands and demands people to worship him as a God. And if they don't, they can't eat, they can't sleep, they can't pay their rent, they can't pay their mortgage, they can't feed their kids. So that doesn't, there's nothing about the Antichrist description that actually fits Trump. So I appreciate the question, and I understand how people could see it. But yeah, it doesn't, he's too famous before he became president. The Antichrist is not known at all before he becomes president. So we know, and if you really think Trump is a bad guy, you just have to take a look at, like, bad guys in the world get placed on big pedestals and they are loved by the powers that be. They don't have assassination attempts on them, right? So the people who do bad things, when Oscars and Grammys and Emmys, and they get praised and they get worshipped and they win all these awards, and the world loves them. And while the world some people in the world love Trump, a lot of people in the world hate Trump, and the powers that be hate Trump. So the Bible clearly says the world loves him. The worldliness, the evil of the world loves the Antichrist. So you understand? The evil of the world, meaning the people who run the governments of the world. That's why he's the ruler of the one world government. So if you can actually hear what I'm saying, when I say the world, I don't mean the people. The people will love the Antichrist, but the people who love him first are the governments. They will love him first, right? So then they promote him to this figure. They promote him. He doesn't take it. He gets promoted. He gets put in the position. He's so charismatic. He's so likable, right? The world, he brings unity to the world, right? These are things that are not how you describe Trump. Trump is saying, I don't want to be part of the one world government. I don't want to rule the one world government. He says America needs to close its borders. America needs to shut its doors. America needs to be America. So the Antichrist says the exact opposite. The Antichrist says we need to open all borders. We need to make the world one nation. We need to make the whole world one under my rule. And we need to microchip or mark the beast on every single person so that I can control them. So the Antichrist wants open borders, wants everybody to get paid by government and to live by what government says. Trump wants to close borders and wants every country to stand on its own 2 feet and to be its own nation. So if you're really asking me the question and not just trying to create like a sassy, jab at Trump, and by calling him the Antichrist or asking if he's the Antichrist, and I'm treating this as a genuine question. That's why I say it's a legit question to ask. But if you really take a look at it, the Antichrist fits the woke mentality, 100%. You want to say that you're this, be this. You want to do this, do that. You want to do drugs, do drugs. You want to be a prostitute, be a prostitute, right? If you look at the most woke places in the world, they want to legalize prostitution. They want to legalize sex work. They want to legalize drugs that are bad for us, right? They want to force drugs onto us that we don't want to take, right? They want us to have chips in our body so that we don't have the ability to pay our mortgages and our rents in our life anymore, be able to buy food anymore, unless they say so, right? This is the Antichrist's dream come true. So if you are somebody who says open borders, everybody take the medicine, that's the way it should be, and you're somebody who says, the government should be paying us and everybody should be on the same ground, not, what you work for is what you get, then you are friends with the Antichrist. I mean, that's his dream come true. That is what he will promote. And if that's hard words for you to hear, I gave my hands in the beginning of this video, you're going to hear things that are going to be hard to hear. And I understand that. God is not about open borders, by the way, for Israel or for any country. He's not. In fact, to the point where God separated the 12 tribes. And he said, you're going to be one people, and you're going to be another people, and you're going to be another people. And I'm going to treat each one of you individually. I'm going to treat the tribe of Benjamin as Benjamin, and the tribe of, Elijah, or the tribe of Levites as the Levites need to be tried, and Judah of Judah, right? So he treats every single group according to what he has set in store for them. And then he tells the Jews, build a temple around, build a wall, build this, leave them out, don't let them in, unless they want to be part of the culture God has set. So I know it's hard for somebody to listen to. This isn't my opinion. This is what the scriptures say. God is a God of separation. God is a God of purification. God is a God of, I want this to be the way I've said, and anything outside of that has nothing to do with me. And in fact, he says, if you bring something that's outside of what I've said, I can't even bless the people I said I would bless. You have tainted my ability to bless. So if you look at it, that's what the Antichrist wants. Open up everything, get everybody under one roof, get everybody doing what the government says. That's why it's called the one world government. Trump is against that. Trump is against one world government. He's against the United States being governed by outside courts, and he's against the United States governing other people's countries. He doesn't want to be involved in other people's wars. The Antichrist wants to be controlling and stopping, and he wants his finger in the dip of every war and every situation. So I hope that for some of you who are, a part of the woke movement, let's say, right, or part of that woke mentality, that you do cross-check what you want or what you believe is righteous and good with the scripture, because that is not a good thing. God is not woke. There's a whole reason why they say Christian conservatives or Jewish conservatives. They don't say Jewish liberals or Christian liberals, right? God is not liberal. God is as conservative as they come, because it's his way or the highway. In the Old Testament, it was his way or death, right? Only through Christ is there grace shown, and gives us a chance daily for us to turn to his ways. But even then, even in the New Testament, if you come to the apostles with the old ways, and you will not relinquish the old ways, and you will not move and be changed by the Holy Spirit and grow into God's boundaries and rules and implementation of his ways, the apostles, some of them died. Some people died. So it's, even in the New Testament, people were dying for not following God. So it's very backwards. God and woke does not mix. It just doesn't. So truth and God mix. Righteousness and God mix. Holiness and God mix. But woke and God doesn't mix. So I know it's hard for some people to hear. I know it is. Carrie Ann says, Deb, oh, that's to her. Allison, okay, I've never understood the 144,000. So if God blinded their eyes, does this mean all Jews of all time will be saved? Not just the other ones that fall down when he returns. I don't know if all Jews will be saved, but there are passages in the Bible. There's this David promise that happens that makes it sound as if they're kind of given like a purgatory-ish type of second chance. So we talked about it in the EBRT a bit. If you go back to the video, I don't know what video it is, but you'll see me and Alex look at each other, and I go, the David thing? He goes, the David thing. I was like, yeah. So there is a passage in that video. We didn't point it out yet because we're not at end times in the EBRT yet, but there is a passage that leans towards Jews kind of have a special grace on them. I'm not saying that gets them into heaven, but gets them like a purgatory type of chance. Right? So it's quite confusing. But the 144,000 is the remnant promise. So again, each individual since the Jeremiah covenant is graded and interacted with according to their own actions now. It's no longer a tribal situation. It's according to their own interactions with God, right? So these 144,000 are Jews, 12,000 from each tribe. They are not Gentiles. I know there's a bunch of Gentiles that are told by some prophet or some church that they're one of the 144,000. Sorry, you're not. I'm not either. I'm not part of the 144,000, but that's okay. I really don't want to be. I want to be part of his Christian family, his bride. And the 144,000 is the 144,000. It's a remnant. So being a part of his bride is better than being a part of the 144,000, but it's neither here nor there. We all go to the same place. So I'm not better than anybody else, and that's that. That's assuming I go to heaven, But yeah, so but the 144,000, it can be confusing, I know, for people, but it's 12,000 of each tribe so that God kept his promise that he would always have a remnant. That's the reason for it. He said there will always be a remnant who's right with me. And so there's 12,000 of each tribe, and the number 12 has significance to it, and 12 tribes times 12 is 144,000. That's why. And it really isn't much more magical than that. He just kept his promise and made sure there was a remnant. So, yeah. Julie says, interesting. I see if I can find the link. Oh, gotcha. Says Christianity is illegal. According to Jews, Christianity is illegal, yeah, because they don't receive Christ as the Messiah. So we're technically, in their eyes, following a false religion or a false belief, especially because they perceive, too, that Christians believe in three deities. So that's another reason why Jews say that Christianity is illegal. So unless you're talking about something else, but yeah. Julie says, can't wait for, okay. Allison, can you help me understand the woes in Revelation? It seems from Revelations 8:13, they are the fifth and sixth and seventh trumpet. Then I looked and I heard an eagle crying with a loud voice as it flew directly overhead. Woe, woe, woe to those who dwell on the earth at the blast of the other trumpets that the three angels are about to blow. Revelation 8:13. However, you have the fifth trumpet being the Iraq War. The war lasted longer than 5 months also. The torment occurred for the 5 months and is for anyone does not have the Holy Spirit. Why would this war be one of the three woes, but not World War I or World War II? This is how end-time ministry has them laid out. 7 trumpets are as followed. First trumpet, World War I, Revelation 8:7. Second trumpet, World War II, Revelation 8:8 through 9. Third trumpet, Chernobyl, yep. Revelation 8:10 through 11. Star like a torch fell, wormwood, yep. Revelation 8:12. Fourth trumpet, Berlin Wall fell down, yep. Time spinning up Germany's reuniting catalyst, yep. March 24th, Dave shortening. Fifth trumpet, Iraq War, Revelation 9:1 through 6. Rose smoke like smoke of a great furnace, yep, when they lit the oil fields on fire, yep. Now to current day, Sixth Trumpet War, World War III, Revelations 9:13-6. So why are they called the trumpets of woe? And why would that be called the trumpet of woe for the Iraq War? Why would that be the fifth trumpet? Because it starts this whole process, if you think about it. Right? It shows you that now we're into it. And the war never stopped. Right? So like the war that started from 9/11, or even like the war with the first Iraq War, really, like it never stopped. Ever since we went into war, it's been nonstop. It's just been a nonstop war situation. The Middle East has always been in war, but now the whole world, in some way, shape, or form, especially because of the U.S., the whole world is involved in this Middle East war. Like we all are paying taxes and paying a price and paying for bullets and missiles and all that stuff. Constantly, money is going into a war in the Middle East ever since the Iraq War. So. That will lead towards a lot of the financial woes that will change everything. So, not to get long-winded or off course, but shorten this up. The American dollar stopped being gold-backed and became oil-backed, right? When any country purchases oil from Saudi Arabia or those Middle East countries, the treaty said they had to purchase it in US dollars. And when your money is moving, it's growing in value. It has to be used. Therefore, people have to consume it, hold on to it, so that way when they want to go make a purchase, they're holding it. The more people that are holding the money and using the money, the more valuable the money becomes. This was very smart for the evil people to get the American dollar off of a gold standard and onto an oil standard. The problem is that ever since the Iraqi war, the world saw very clearly that the Western worlds are willing to kill these countries' leadership to keep the dollar strong. And we will go to as many wars, as expensive of wars as we possibly can, not because we care about the oil. America has more oil in it than we could use, like before Christ returns. We have a huge amount of oil in America. So why do we keep buying oil from Saudi Arabia, from all these other oil countries in the Middle East? It's because we want the US dollar to be the exchanging currency for that transaction. Because every time it does, we're basically collecting a small little fee. The US dollar grows in its value and stays strong. So when you have the war in Iraq, which lights the oil fields on fire, that's Saddam Hussein's way of saying, I know that this is all you care about, so I'm going to burn it. That fire the whole world sees. That is symbolic of the fifth trumpet. And then the world clearly sees that, hey, America didn't do this oil thing because it's a good idea for the world. America did it because it's greedy and wanted to basically gain off of the need that the whole world has for oil, right? Whether it's cosmetics or plastics or rubbers or gasoline or jet fuel or bunker fuel for container ships that are transporting all our goods. Basically, anything and everything that's ever created and anything and everything that moves is using oil in some way, shape, or form. And America's like, so no matter what, even if you never buy any goods from us, you're still paying us. We're still getting paid. It's like the record label owning the rights to the music, right? We own the rights to the music. You can't buy the music without us. So it was a very smart move. But because of the Iraq War, the world just really learned what America's motive was for that region of the world. And they have decided since to no longer use. They did not renew the contract. Most of the world doesn't know this, but the American dollar is no longer backed. While we're making this video, the American dollar is no longer backed by oil. Do you know what it's backed by? Nothing. As of right now of this video being made, the American dollar is represented by vapor. It's only represented by the fact that the world holds so much of it. And as the world is exchanging the American dollar for other types of currencies, and maybe even the one world currency, the American dollar is going to drop significantly. It has no more value. So what Trump will try to do, which the world will say, the evil people of the world will say that Trump is an evil person for doing this, is he's going to say, well, the American dollar needs to be represented by something. And the most stable thing that a dollar can ever be represented by forever and ever is gold. So he's going to say, let's get back on the gold standard. Or I think if he's really, really, really smart, he'll say, let's put the American dollar based upon American export or American inventions and things like that, because the whole world uses American inventions. So if he was really smart, I think he would do it on that, but he'll probably play it safe and he'll say, let's go to the gold standard within his last 4 years as a president. And the world will say that's evil. And in reality, it's the opposite of evil. It's actually the wisest, safest thing for the American dollar to do. If he puts it on something that can be manipulated or destroyed, or the rug can get pulled out from underneath it, like oil, it's a form of evil. So, yeah, but that's why the fifth trumpet is the beginning of woes. Because now, if you're thinking about it, but what does America have to do losing its dollar value? Everybody check this out. If you don't know this, I hope I'm not boring everybody. I can't tell if I am because I can't see, but watch this. Do you know how America has a larger military than the first and then than the following 9 countries combined? Have you ever wondered? Is it just because we make such great movies and sell such great music? No. It's because they were smart enough to make that transaction where we basically take a little piece like a credit card. Every time you swipe your credit card, no matter if you buy a stick of gum or gasoline or food from a restaurant or a necklace or a jacket, credit cards making money every time you purchase something, right? So we did the same thing with oil, right? So how do you think we got the military we have? How do you think we have the finances we have to have a military that's bigger than the 9 other largest militaries in the world combined? It is because of oil, because of our tax on oil, our position on oil. That's how we did it. That's why we have so much money. So what happens when that country no longer has that tax but has all those expenses? It's like if you're used to daddy's black credit card that allows you to buy all these things and you're living at a $200,000 a month lifestyle, right? And you know that next month you got to come up with $200,000, but that's not been a problem because daddy's credit card always allows you to have $200,000 to buy the new Rolls Royce every month, right? Okay, so if that's the case, and then all of a sudden that credit card gets cut by dad and he doesn't give you that money anymore, but you still have to pay the bank for the Bentleys you've already bought, or the jets you've already bought, or the ships you've already bought, or the weapons you've already built, right? What happens when that country that has been the defender of freedom for the whole world over, right? If any country got into some kind of battle and somebody tried to attack them or take them over, Ukraine style, America comes in and says, hey, we can clearly see you have a few guns and maybe a few missiles. We're going to help you out. You'll owe us later, but we're going to help you out so you don't get taken over Hitler style. We've been doing that since World War II, and we've been doing that with the money we made off of oil. So when America loses its financial ability to be the police of the world, who's going to police the world? And as of today, America cannot financially police the world anymore. So if you're also wondering why Trump is going out and saying America can't keep financing these wars, America can't keep being the one who's putting all the money into the NATO situation. We can't keep being the country who's giving to people all the time in these countries all the time, because what he's not saying, and I think he knows, but he's not saying it, is because the American dollar can't do it no more. It's not backed by oil anymore. So he's literally telling the world, we cannot do it anymore. But he's not saying why. I am. It's because our dollar is based on vapor now. There is no guarantee that the American dollar is going up anymore. It always will with oil, especially as oil got used up, the value of the dollar always got more. So the more we soaked up of Saudi Arabia's money, the more value the dollar became, because the less resource, the more value per portion, right? So the American dollar is always going to go up, which allows us to buy more ships, more guns, more jets, more land, more anything we want, right? But we don't have that anymore. It's already done. If you're thinking to yourself, oh, that's in the future. No, it's already done. We are no longer backed by oil. It's a done. It happened like 4 months ago, 5-6 months ago. It's a done thing. They've already gotten the American dollar out of the situation. Now they're trying to decide which currency they're creating will replace the dollar, because they saw how much power it gave America. So why is this the beginning of woes? Because America will no longer be the police of the world. It can no longer afford it. So the only way America could possibly afford it is if it convinced the rest of the world to buy the oil under our territory rather than Saudi Arabia's. But if you guys have ever been to Dubai, you know that you can fill up your whole car for like $10, right? If not less. If you go to Saudi Arabia, a tank of gas or a gallon of gas is something like 70 cents US dollars. Right? Whereas in America, we're paying up to like $7. In Europe, I think they're paying up to like $10, $11. So if you could think about it, if America could convince the world to buy our oil instead of from anywhere else, then we could continue to do that. But then we would be depleting our oil reserves. But that's fine. We have plenty of oil reserves. But we have to convince the world to do that. But it would be a woe if... Let me put it this way. Think about the sentence. I know I'm ranting on this, but this is a good question, right? This is stuff that in my opinion, nobody talks about this, right? Look at the terminology used here. Then I looked and I heard an eagle crying with a loud voice as it flew directly overhead. Is anybody picking that up? What country is represented by an eagle? What's the most famous eagle country in the world? America. Then I looked and I heard an eagle crying with a loud voice, and it flew overhead. Woe, woe, woe to those who dwell on earth at the blast of the other trumpets. Basically meaning America's no longer the protector of the world. America is no longer able to keep the enemies at bay. America is now going to be financially strained. Woe, woe, woe to the world. And somebody might be saying, oh, America's not the only one. Mexico has an eagle, and none of the other countries have eagles. I agree. But they weren't keeping the enemies at bay. They're not the number one protectors of the peace on the planet. America has been. So this is a thing. This is totally a thing. So I'm glad it got brought up. And I think people should totally be aware. I mean, I've been saying you're running out of time. But yeah, so we're past out of time. The dollar, as of today, is worth zero money, except for the fact that we're still a military police. So countries pay us to, every time somebody calls on America and says our container ship is on your way to America and there's pirates going to attack it, they have to pay us to come to do that. But is it enough to cover the cost of us keeping our ships on the ocean? No, right? Like you need that oil thing. So, and other countries owe us money and all that kind of stuff. But China owns more American land than anybody else. China holds a whole bunch of American dollars. So I'll say one more thing. The reason why China is the biggest threat to America, it's not Russia. The reason, in case anybody's wondering, right? Like, because this is end time stuff. In case anybody's wondering, why is China the greatest threat to America? China has been very, very smart. They own and hold more American dollars than anybody else in the world outside of America. Now, the reason why that matters is that when China says, I'm going to buy a US dollar for however many Chinese yen, right, they're establishing the value of the Chinese yen. But because the Chinese government is a dictatorship and they have their own ecosystem and they don't have any reason or agreement to play nicely with the world, they can actually tank the value of their yen. Let me explain this to you. If you think of the money of the world or the money of the US as a building, and whoever owns, let's say, the entire north wall of the building, some country named China has bought the entire north wall of the building. They own that much of a portion of it. If they decide to devalue their entire wall and bring it to the value of a single brick, they would make the whole building come crashing down. If you research the last 15 years, you will see articles, you will see how America has complained that the Chinese are deflating the value of their yen, which would seem really weird. Why does America care that the value of the Chinese dollar is going down? What you won't read in those articles is that the Chinese own more American dollars with the value of their yen. So if the value of the yen goes up, since they own so much American dollars, the value of the American dollar goes up with the yen. But if they should tank it artificially, which is what they do every single year, they deflate it every year instead of going up with the rest of the world every year. When they do that, they're hurting the American dollar. So if China wanted to hurt America, all they'd have to do is completely annihilate the value of their yen. And they can do that without hurting their economy because they're a self-sustained bubble. Now, if you listen to what Trump is saying, Trump is trying to say America needs to become a full-fledged self-sustained bubble. We need not to be relying on products and services from outside the United States. And the real reason for this is because every time we have a product or service that we rely on for our safety, for our functionality, whether it's oil, rubber, gasoline, anything like this, right, that weakens our walls. Because at any point, that country or that group of people could say we change our mind like they did with the oil and say we're not going to use America's dollar anymore. We're going to use this dollar over here. And the moment that happens, the value's gone. The whole wall of the building is removed. So the oil wall is already gone. And if China should decide at any moment to just sneeze and crush its value of its yen, which it could do without ruining its country, it could totally still function because it's a dictatorship. So because a militaristic government can tell its people, keep making bombs, keep making houses, keep running electricity. Here's our own oil, use it. Here's our own diamonds, use it. That's the benefit of a dictatorship. And that's why the Antichrist will look like such a hero, because he's saying, let's do that for the whole world. Let's get everybody on that type of dictatorship so that I will just say, you keep doing it, here I'll pay you with government money, right? And where's that government money going to come from? From things we have to do. Oil, water, electricity, all the things that humanity in today's world needs. Food, right? They'll tax all that to the point where they're able to pay everybody whatever they want. So basically, China is more of a template for the future than what Donald Trump is asking for, right? So democracy is not the future of the world. The Antichrist is more of a dictator. So that's why China can crush its dollar or its yen, which would crush the United States dollar in a day, and then we would all be screwed. Because it would cost you 10,000 US dollars to go buy a loaf of bread. And that's the reality of it. And if you guys are wondering, 2 months ago, the Japanese yen fell 20-30%, and the stock market in the United States crashed 20% in that day. So again, if you're wondering if I'm telling the truth, just Google yen crash, type in Japanese yen crash, and then look at the US market on that day, and you will see that it fell 30%. That's the Japanese. The Japanese do not own a big enough portion of the United States money to, if the Japanese yen fell like 30% and the US stock market fell 20%, which is the US value of money, fell 20%, right? And the Chinese can reduce the value of their dollar without crushing their economy to 1/100th of the value, then that means, and they own the most US dollars of anybody in the world, that means that the US dollar would go down to being worth 1 penny of its, and all they have to do is they control it. They don't have any international standard to keep this up. So that's how that all ties into what happened with Iraq. Because when Iraq happened, it was America showing, we will go to war if you try to take our oil situation away from us. And that's and that has to do everything with us being able to finance our military to keep being the police of the world. Does this all make sense now? Hope it does. All right, Jessica, hard truth is where we're here. Hallelujah. David says, could the Antichrist be Lucifer himself? I see a lot of New Agers expecting someone called the Light to show up. Same thing with those who have experienced NDEs, a bit different from yours. Always assumed he would be the one to unite the world. I have a lot of questions. Haha. I think that's a good question. I don't think it's the Antichrist is Satan himself, because he gets defeated. The Antichrist gets defeated in this realm, this life, this time frame before Christ returns. And so I don't, and the devil's not defeated. The devil doesn't get defeated until the end of the millennia, right? So no, I do think that it could be like his Jesus, the devil's Jesus, like his son type of thing. Like it could be something kind of wooey like that. Could be, which I know a lot of movies do, where they make the Antichrist like the offspring of Satan. I mean, it could be like that kind of thing of what Jesus is to God kind of deal. It could be. I'm not saying I'm persuaded of that, but I definitely think that the Antichrist has a very strange and powerfully unique relationship with the devil, for sure. I just don't know. I don't think the Bible makes it clear to how that relationship works, though. It really doesn't go into it. Yeah. Carrie Ann says, none shall pass onto my holy of holies. Carrie Ann, that was funny. Yeah, okay. Allison says, sorry, I think last question I have is, my current understanding is that the seventh trumpet, or the seven trumpets, is the last trumpet described in, behold, I tell you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in a moment, in the twinkle of an eye, at the last trumpet. For the trumpet will sound, and the dead will be raised imperishable, and we shall be changed. Equals rapture at the last trump. 1 Corinthians 15:51-52. However, a knowing and teaching Christian says there are many trumpets. There are several trumpet places in Scripture. The last trumpet isn't the rapture. We don't yo-yo up at the end just to come immediately back down. She also says Scripture points to absolutely only a pre-trib rapture. Daniel says it's a whole 7 years at the signing of the peace treaty. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. A revelation confirmation at 7 years, or all God's wrath in which the church is not a part of. A revelation confirms all 7 years are all of God's wrath in which the church is not a part of. And the second part to the question, okay, so that first part, I don't agree with that at all, because how does the Antichrist make war against the sheep, the sheep of God, like the lambs of God, and overcome them if they're not here? And why does the book of Revelation say that the souls cried out from underneath the throne, saying, when will you avenge us? And the one on the throne says, not until the rest of your brothers and sisters suffer the same death and martyrdom as you are suffering. So that's at the end. So how are there still people that need to be martyred in Christ if by the Antichrist, if we aren't here? That doesn't make sense. So that's, I mean, I don't know how to else to respond to that. I know those teachings that people teach, but it's just clearly wrong. And the wrath of God is not, the wrath of God doesn't happen until the seventh, like at the seventh trumpet. The wrath of God is during his return. The wrath of God does not come before that. Everything else is the wrath of life, the wrath of earth, the wrath of man. All the horrible things, the stars falling, the blood, all that stuff. Like, there's a, that's not, that doesn't say that it's God's wrath. So, but yeah, I mean, it clearly says, I mean, how are the souls from underneath the saying, when will you avenge us? It's a time, it should be by now. You should have already done this. And the other thing is a passage that says that there's the leaders of the church will become drunkards and lovers of self. And they will say, my Lord should have returned already. He's late. Well, Christ can't be late if you're raptured. Like, you get what I mean? It's the fact that there's so many people who think they will be pre-raptured is why they will say God is late. It's because they were told by their pastors and the people they followed on the internet or TV or whatever who said, oh, don't worry, you're not going to be here for it. And then they're going to be like, wait, I'm watching TV and the temple is being built. I'm not supposed to be here for this, according to my pastor, according to my teachers, according to the person I follow. I'm not supposed to be seeing this temple being built. I'm supposed to be gone already. And then when the bombs start dropping and the war starts happening and people can't eat food and people can't drink clean water, people start starving to death and dehydrating to death and all that kind of stuff, and the world's going to madness and everybody's killing each other and stealing from each other, then they're going to be, whoa, I wasn't supposed to be here for this. God's late, right? He should have been here already. No, if you're pre-raptured, you don't even have the chance to say God's late, because the world hasn't entered into that phase yet, right? When the treaty gets signed, there's nothing that says that when the treaty gets signed that the world is in like a horrible type of suffering. I mean, sure, you have the woes of the fifth trumpet, but it's not like notice that the fifth trumpet doesn't describe like a whole bunch of people totally really suffering. It's like more of a symbolic something is lit on fire. There's signs. There's a darkness, but there's nobody. Like 1/3 of the world's population doesn't die. 1/4 of the world's population starve to death. 1/4 of the world's population doesn't die from disease. Like, those are the deaths that happen after the sixth trumpet, right? So those are like real woes. Like, that's like, dude, when you start seeing 1/4 of the world die, you're going to be like, this is bad stuff. I mean, what, 2 million something, 2.5 million people died because they got the COVID, right? Like, that was like the world shut down. What do you think is going to happen when 1/4 of all human beings on Earth, even if it's from one focal point, but when 1/4 of the world is dying from a thing, you're going to be like, yeah, crap hit the fan. Like, this is there's no, we're in it. So these people they're gonna feel it. And then they'll say, because like, but that's sixth trumpet. So my point is to say is that if you're raptured, you're not going to experience a thing that makes you go, God is late. Do you understand what I'm saying? If it's a pre-rapture situation, nothing has happened yet for you to go, God is late. It's a simple, like that. These are just simple things. In my opinion, it's a simple thing. When the bad man doesn't want me to let my kid be a transgender, God is late. Those people aren't saying God anything, right? And they might be saying poo-poo on God. They're not saying my God who's saving me is late. My Christ, my Jesus is late. The person who's saying, oh, I'm so mad the orange-haired guy is president because now I can't have my kid get his wee-wee cut off. Where's Jesus? I need him. Those aren't the people saying my God is late. Do you see what I'm saying? So it has to be the people who are churchgoers who believe they thought they should go already. That's my opinion. Sue says, I am the older side and I've already prayed to die before things get back to the world. I know that it's not up to me and I will accept God's will. Can you give me some hope on how we can withstand the 3.5 years of tribulation? if I answer that question as you're asking me to, I mean, I could, but I honestly believe it's evil. I believe my answer is evil, um, because it's of the flesh. So I will do my best to give hope in what you're asking. I have said since like my very early videos that America has two possible outcomes. If you're somebody who's been around a while, you can confirm this in the comments saying, yes, this is what he said. America has two possible outcomes. Either America gets wiped off the face of the earth, which losing the oil dollar could lead to that. Or the other thing I've always said is this sentence exactly. America withdraws from the world to lick its wounds. This is the exact sentence I've always said. America will withdraw itself from the world, means it no longer will police the world. It will no longer be the one who shows up to save the day every time and use its military might to balance things out. And I know for some parts of the world, they see that as America being evil. But if you would have imagined America not in the world since World War II, the world would be a heck of a lot darker place, right? So even if you think America's corrupt and yada yada, it probably is because it's trying to maintain its position of being the good guy with some very maybe ungood things. But we have been a pretty good guy considering, you know, we were the first to drop the bombs and then we rebuilt the cities we dropped bombs on. I don't know any other country that's ever done that, right? I don't think Russia returned to Berlin and said, hey, you know, let me give you a whole bunch of money so you guys can rebuild your country. I don't think Germany sent money to France and said, hey, let us, you know, totally rebuild you back better than you were before. So what I'm saying is if you're going to have somebody who's going to flex their military might in the way America has, we've been really the right country for that. Like we've done a very good job of being restrained, but also being powerful and maintaining the peace. So that being said, America has two options. Somehow America gets wiped off the face of the earth because we are clearly not involved when all the countries come to attack Israel. We're not there. They would never arrive to Megiddo to annihilate Israel at the very, very end if America is there. So it means America has to make a choice. Either Israel is going to piss off America so bad, or America is going to be wounded so bad that it literally can't go to the aid of Israel when Megiddo happens. So some way, shape, or form, America doesn't save Israel in the end. That's what the Bible tells us. Megiddo stops because Christ returns, not because America helps. So that's a thing. That's a huge clue of America's role in the world. So if America withdraws and tries to become the bubble I just mentioned, right? Like how China, the dictatorship, but a democracy bubble of its own, then that means that America is not part of the one world government, which means that America could be a safe haven for people. Anybody who's living here, we have a big enough military, and especially if we are not exuding money and finances to be in everybody else's war and balance the powers. If America allows the world to just go at it and fight each other and kill each other like World War II, we're keeping our hands out. We're not a part of this. Yes, Hitler's already taken over some countries, but we're not a part of it. We're keeping our resources, we're holding back, right? Then America's military might will stay strong for defending itself. Nobody would be able to penetrate and take over America. So that's the option. Or America doesn't exist. So with the US dollar being taken off the oil, with the Chinese yen being able to crush the American dollar even further and make it worth nothing, it would make sense that we will close our borders, we will seal up our walls, and we will just defend basically us, Canada, and probably Mexico. That would make sense. And we'll get out of everybody else's wars. And then we'll be a safe haven and we won't participate in the one world government. But if the woke movement gets its way, we will basically defuse the Constitution. We will collapse the current U.S. government as it's known, and we will then join the one world government. And so America is no longer there, and all that is financially America's, or all the military ability of America, will get absorbed and not be America's military, but will be the one world government's military. So therefore, America doesn't exist anymore. It got absorbed by the one world government. So I guess that's three options. Either it gets completely annihilated some way, somehow. I mean, it'd have to be massive amount of nukes, but then America would nuke everybody else, which would also kind of make sense of why 1/3 of the world's population dies during the Sixth Trumpet War. Nukes falling is a great way to kill 1/3 of all human beings on Earth, right? So you have that option. America gets annihilated, but because we have our submarines and our bombers always in the air ready to drop bombs, 1/3 of the world population dies. That's option one. Option two, America just withdraws and lets everybody fight everybody, and nobody wants to attack us because we're too strong and we're staying out of their business. So we stay out of the business and everybody goes to war and they all kill each other. And that leads to eventually Megiddo. Option three, somehow, some way, we get a very evil government that is very woke and says, no, America's going to lead the way in becoming part of the one world government. Here, now our military and our resources is not America's resources. America is no longer its own country, but America is basically morphing into the one world government, and all that we are is the beginning of a one world government. Not that America leads it, but America surrenders its stuff over to the one world government. Those are the only three options I perceive, because otherwise it doesn't make sense that Megiddo would ever even be a thing. And the reason is it talks about like land approach to Israel. Like there is a land force approaching Israel. With our satellites and our technology, there'd be no land force that could circle Israel without America being there to save the day. Like that's impossible. So it means America's not there. One way or another, we're not there. So, and then a lot of people have asked me, why don't you move to Jerusalem? No, I don't want to live in Jerusalem at the end times. I'm living right where I want to live. So I hope that helps. I know that probably doesn't give you, give you hope. If you're living in America, I don't know if you are. If you're living in America, it is my opinion you're in the best spot in the world to possibly be at. Sorry for anybody who's not here. If you can get to America, I would. But the reason why I said this answer is kind of evil, which you may not think it's kind of evil. The reason I would say this answer is kind of evil is because like it's a flesh thing. It's like it's an answer out of the flesh, right? You're trying to figure out how to survive the end times with a calculated earthly answer, you know? So, but in reality, if God wants you to live, I don't know how, I don't know which way, but I don't know yet. I mean, that's why I haven't done videos on it in depth yet, but there's got to be a way where believers are going to survive until the end, because it literally says there will be some believers who survive until the end. I don't know how, but it doesn't say a lot of us will. It says a lot of us will become martyrs. And I know that that's scary to a lot of us. I mean, you're talking about the reality of that happening in the next 7 years. Or 8 years or 10 years. That's a very quick time period for those of us to get prepared psychologically and for that reality to hit us. And I get that, guys. I totally get it. It's why I don't make videos talking about it a lot. I get people writing me afterwards. They're like, I'm freaking out after your video. So I did a Surgeon General warning at the beginning of the video. If you missed the beginning of the video, I'm giving it once again now. But the point is that, do you really want to be here? Do you want to be one of the people who lives through the tribulation? My point, like, look, I don't want to live through it. I don't want to live through it. I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I got a bad heart. And people have been asking me that since my NDE. How come you don't pray for God to heal your heart? And I've said, why would I want him to? Why would I want God to heal my heart? If he heals my heart, it means I'm healthy enough to stay here through the whole poo-poo. I don't want to be here. If God makes my heart stop tomorrow, I gotta listen. If I'm not here tomorrow, if I'm not here in a year, God bless me. He hooked me up. I don't want to be here for the end times. I want to be here for Christ's return. I mean, that's the only thing, is I want to be standing with my human feet on the ground, watching that lightning bolt happen or watching the rapture happen. Like I just want to be here and like see it in my experience as a human being. Like I want to be here for that part, but the rest of it I don't want to be here for. So I mean, so that's me. Like, and and I'll tell you, if you can die before the bad happens, you're blessed. I'm not saying kill yourself. For the record, I'm not. But I'm saying if you should die, hopefully in as painless of a way as possible, by somebody else's hand or some external thing or a disease or something, you got lucky. I don't mean it doesn't sound very lucky, but you got lucky. So yeah, I mean, so I know I'm not. So everything I told you is like America is this. It could be a safe haven, but there's a lot of people that won't be able to get here. That's horrible news for them. And the only other thing is you're a country that is just so small. And I'm not meaning this in a bad way. It's just you're a country that's so small or you have no resource that the one world government wants. So they leave you alone. And where is that? I have no idea. But if it is the one world government, they want every resource. They want every human being accredited for tax purposes, right? So they're going to want every country. And a country with no military or very little military, I mean, it doesn't even matter if you have a military. If America's not around, anybody who doesn't have a Russia or China or India level, you know, Japan level military, you're up the wrong creek without a paddle. You really are. So, again, I apologize for my international brothers and sisters. Come to America legally as fast as you can. That's my 2 cents. Come to America as fast as you can legally. So, if I had success in my business, I would have bought tens of thousands, if not 100,000 acres, and it would have been the largest city, not a commune, not a compound. It would have been a city so that Christians could live until Christ returns. That's exactly what my hope was with all my billions of dollars I was on course to have. But I lost it. Now I can barely afford to buy my next meal. So I guess the Lord just didn't want me to do that. I don't know. I'm trying not to speak those negative things. Maybe it still could happen. I don't know how. But, if I had the money, that's what I would do. If I was Elon Musk, that's what I would be working on. I wouldn't be working on getting to Mars. I wouldn't be working on, flying, missiles in the sky or anything like that. I'd be working on building cities for believers to live on so they don't have to take the mark. That's what I would be working on. But I probably didn't just give you a lot of hope. I probably did not just give you a lot of hope. Sorry. I will say this, death doesn't hurt. Death of itself does not hurt. I know we're all naturally by our flesh scared of it, but heaven's real. It's full on absolutely real. Why would you want to stay here? This is 1 inch away from hell. This life sucks. Compared to what comes next, I've always said it. I'll continue to say it till the day I die. This life sucks. If you can go home early, you are a blessed person. Ricardo, I had the thought that the first beast, the Antichrist, the head person of a council of 7 persons given authority over the world government of 10 remaining countries after 2/3 of death population dies. I had the thought that the first beast, the Antichrist, the head person. Is there a question? I'm not getting the question, Ricardo. But yes, I understand. Is it possible that him acting as a good guy now and then turns out he is lying and pretending to be a good... Who, the Antichrist or Trump? Teresa, are you talking about Trump? Trump can't be the Antichrist. He's too famous. Before he became president, he was already known. The Antichrist is not known before he becomes the world leading politician. So Trump is impossible for Trump to be the Antichrist. So all the Trump haters out there, I'm sorry to break your hearts. Trump cannot be the Antichrist. He doesn't fit the bill. It's impossible for him to fit the bill. Impossible. Brenna, dang, sorry I'm late. Interesting conversation. Hi. Well, it's recorded, so we're all good. Carrie Ann, I remember you saying you were hopeful that the U.S. might be a bit of a safe haven, during the tribulation. On account of all the pew-pews, I'm curious if now the Trump won and things are getting so much closer, are you feeling more like that will be the case? The fact that Trump won gives me hope that America will pull away from the rest of the world. The fact that Trump is saying we cannot financially back your one world militaries anymore, and the fact that he is saying we're going to start drilling our own oil, he's not expressing to you the things I've expressed in this video of the reasons why that's important. But the fact that he is doing all the right things for America to be a safe haven, yes, it does give me hope. But they've already tried to kill him 3 times. If Trump should be assassinated, or he should die before he accomplishes and sets forth this new system to allow us to be a sustained country in the end times, and I do believe he's the only person that can do it. He's the only person who's even trying to do it. Every other politician is, whether you're Democrat or Republican, before Trump, they were working towards the same end. They were moving everything towards globalism, the one world order. Both sides were one world order. This is a one world order. There's a new world. We're one world order. They were all moving. They were two sides of the same coin. The reason why the leaders of the world hate Trump is because he's not on their coin. He's like, I have no reason. I'm not owned by any of you people. I don't need your money. I don't need your power. I don't need nothing from you. That's why they tried to kill him. And if you remember the speech that JFK said right before they assassinated him was, there are secret societies moving in secret ways, trying to take this country to a type of enslavement. And he says, I'm going to see to it that that's not the case. That is not American way, and I'm not going to allow it. 2 days later, he got shot in the head. So they tried to say it was a mafia that killed him because, him and his brother were trying to going after Hoffa and all that type of stuff. But it's really interesting that it was 2 days after he made the secret society speech. And if you want to hear a speech that'll bring you to tears, watch that speech. That's a speech that's an American speech right there. American secret societies are repugnant to American culture. I'm ruining it, but he uses the word repugnant. I remember that. A secret society in a free world is repugnant, something like that. It's a great speech if you can find it. Don't watch it now. We're doing a live video, but watch it afterwards. I used to listen to that like once a month. Anyways, so yes, I do have hope that Trump is on course to closing America, getting America fully standing on its own 2 legs, which, by the way, is good for the world. As long as there is in America, there's at least a safe haven. And at least Canada and Mexico should be a safe haven too. America's not going to allow its enemies to get close. So Canada and Mexico, if you guys can't get into America, get into Mexico or Canada at least. But yeah, we're not going to let those go south too bad, I don't think. But yes, I am hopeful. If Trump lost, I would lose all hope. If Trump lost, I would have lost all hope. Truly. And the only reason is because of that. Now, my favorite politician that I wanted to vote for was Ron Paul, because Ron Paul understood this, and Ron Paul was about this, and he is a believer, he's a Christian, and he's meek and he's humble. So my favorite politician, if everybody's thinking I'm just a Trumper, I'm not just a Trumper. I just support this part. I mean, I support what he's doing, and I support that. But do I think that he says things out of his mouth he shouldn't say? Of course I do. Do I think that he lacks humility? Of course I do. But do I think he's chosen by God? Of course I do. So, there's that. Carrie Ann, can Trump do anything to reverse the China has done with our money so it won't collapse if they drop the value of their yen? Yes, there is. Very good question, Carrie Ann. Oh, that's so interesting you said that. I should have already gone into that, right? So if America doesn't want the yen to crash, America buys the yen. So America places itself in a position where China basically we can do the same thing to them, even though the problem is that they're a dictatorship. That's the only thing. In the end, they have a leg up on us because they're a dictatorship. So all Americans would have to go in on it, and they won't, especially because of the woke movement. They won't. So yeah. Oh, my back is killing me, you guys. I'm sorry if you see me moving. My back is killing me. Great question. So can he though? Let's see. The only other thing he can do is he can ex-nate. So here's what he can do. He can literally, I don't know how it's totally legal. I don't know how it's legal. But if he basically does something where he makes null and void all the notes any notes or any land that China has, he can basically wash it clean with like an executive order, right? And he can say, we're at war with China. China has made itself a full-on enemy of the United States. So all the dollars that China has, or all the notes of America that China has, we burn those in our books. So they don't even count anymore. So then if they tank the yen, basically what America's going to do is go the wall of the building that mostly China owns, we just like removed the wall and we rebuilt it. We just like took it off the building completely. So like if we chisel the wall out and we put up supports, the wall can be missing. A building can stand with 3 walls. A building can stand with 2 walls as long as you have the supports to keep those other walls up, right? So if there's a way for him to be like any Chinese owned American property, soil, which is a lot. China owns more American soil than anybody else. Then by executive order, America takes it back. The world would consider America a horrible evil if we did that, but it would save America. So, because it's basically saying like, it's like basically when you go buy this car from me and I'll deliver it on Monday, and you take all their money and they pay everything up front, and they even pay like, let's say 10 years of insurance, and they pay you up front, and then you never deliver the car, and you're the guy with the bigger gun, and you go, what are you going to do about it? You're not going to do anything. You're basically like a bully. You're a mafia bully, right? But I gave you all that money. I should own this car. And America, for the safety of America, goes, well, you don't get the car. We're going to keep the car. We're going to keep everything you bought, everything you own, all your people own. We're just going to screw you over. That's the only way to really keep to make it so that China can't hurt us with their yen. But I think that that's the problem with being a president in the future, is you basically have to make that choice. And if you do, you will be seen as an evil person in the world. There's no way of getting around it. You will be seen as an absolute criminal. Like you'll go down in history as one of the most evil people in the world if you did that to like any, because now the rest of the countries, here's the other downfall of it. Now the rest of the countries are never going to invest in the American dollar or invest into American products or land or developments of any sort, because they'd be scared you would do the exact same thing. And the whole reason why countries love to do that with us is because we've been so stable, and we would never want to ruin the American reputation. So, because the American reputation is the value of the dollar outside of the oil. It's the only reason the dollar didn't crash the day that they changed the oil rule, that the Saudis and all them made the rule that they're no longer going to use the American dollar for the transactions. The only reason the dollar didn't go to nothing that day is because America has a reputation. So literally our forefathers were very smart in that we have established an American, whether you want to agree with this or not, an American love around the world and a reputation that we're the good guys. If we had not established that, the dollar would have been gone that day. So if Trump or whoever president does that to China, America would lose that reputation, and they would see it as like, oh, so you'll shoot down every boat around you and let the whole world sink in order to save yourself. And ironically enough, that's actually what I've been saying. America will let the rest of the world go up in flames, killing itself. And they're like, well, we just don't have the means to protect you guys up anymore because we're not on the oil anymore. So we have to protect ourselves. So yeah, everything I'm saying is matching up. It's super scary. But it just is Trump like Batman? You know, at the third Batman movie with Christian Bale, is he Batman enough, or is it the second movie where he's Batman enough to be the bad guy? Where is he that good that he will allow the world to hate him in order to save America? I don't know if he's like that level of hero. And the ironic thing is here's the crazy thing. If Trump did that, it would absolutely make all the people who hate him already think he is the Antichrist, which would be a great disguise for the Antichrist. Because then the Antichrist sweeps in and says, listen. This money, our new dollar, is going to be the dollar that is now operating the oil. America's punked us. They've had us all by the balls for too long. They've been big brother bully for too long. We need to govern ourselves. Let's create a one world government. Let's create a one world currency. That way we all benefit as America benefited. our military will be as America's military was, and we can't punk each other anymore. We can't pull the rug out from each other anymore because look at what happens when one country stands above the rest financially, right? It's unfair, and we're all in jeopardy of being hurt. So this would actually be a great opportunity. If the president of the United States did exactly what I'm saying, it would be a great opportunity for them to be tricking the world into looking like the Antichrist. And then the Antichrist doesn't look like the Antichrist at all. They literally look like the hero. And nobody would dare say they're the Antichrist because they're literally working on trying to stabilize the whole world. They're literally looking at trying to stop war and famine and all the deaths and all the nuke bombs and all the insecurities and the wobbliness of the global economy. I mean, what's bad about that? Nothing. On the surface level, there's zero bad about that. And that's exactly what the Antichrist is going to do. But it would really help the Antichrist if the leader of America did the worst thing that America could do, which is pull and just tell the whole world to go beep themselves. We're just going to take care of America. That would make America look like the Antichrist. Isn't that crazy? Kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Marie Sanders, excuse me, I have a Trump question. I understand that may not be an easy single answer, but I am interested in your thoughts. My family is torn between the election and using the Bible on both ends. One side says Trump aligns with the Bible, and the other side says, if that is so, then love thy neighbor, and Trump says he is doing a massive deportation is wrong. Well, they just, clearly anybody who says that doesn't know the Bible. So let me just say that. Illegal people have broken American laws and come to the United States illegally. When you broke the law for the God in the Bible, he killed you. Trump is not killing these people. So if Trump was to actually be extremely biblical, he would gather up every single illegal person and he would kill them all. Man, woman, and child. And if you don't think that God told people to eliminate entire races and cultures, read the Old Testament. He told them to kill even the babies and the sheep and the cows, for goodness sake. So if somebody brought a dog illegally with them when they moved to the United States, if Trump was going to be actually full on biblical, he would kill the dog too, because the dog is technically here illegally. So anybody who says that Trump is doing a bad thing by removing the people who came here illegally, they have no idea what they're talking, how that's biblical, negative. Like they have no idea what they're talking about. So you continue on. I know everyone has their opinions, of course they do, but from the biblical perspective, like EBRT style, how does all of this fit? When in prayer, 1 John 2:15. So my brain went. When in prayer, 1 John 2:15. Okay, let's read it. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. Well, if Trump wanted the world to love him, he would say open borders, come one, come all, sneak across, don't pay, don't get your license, don't get your paperwork, don't be legitimized. If Trump was a lover of the world, he would say welcome all. But because he's not a lover of the world, because he doesn't care what the world says about him, and because he's not trying to make the whole world happy, he's trying to make America happy, he's saying, no, we have laws for a reason. And as the leader of this country, I have to protect this country above all. And so that's what he's doing. That's pissing off the woke minds of the entire world. It's pissing off the woke minds of the United States. So he is not going against 1 John 2:15. He's actually hearing the message of 1 John 2:15. He was appointed as the leader and defender and protector of the United States, and he's being a good steward onto that cause. He was not elected as the immigrant welcomer of a country for people to illegally escape to, or steal into, or criminally hide into. So he's not appeasing the world at all. He's pissing the world off. So for anybody, if you want to show this part of the video to your family, listen, family, anybody, family, friends, somebody who follows this ministry, Trump wanting to shut the border on illegal and remove illegal people is exactly what the Bible commands us to do. And if it was to David, he told them to kill them all. So the fact that Trump is just saying he's going to export them back to where they came from shows more grace than the God of the Bible. And if you're a believer, and you have to accept that is the fact. If you're not a believer and you say, well, then that's not my God, that God is mean to want to kill those people who broke those laws and was, defiling God's country, Israel, then that's a mean God. I don't love that God. Fine, don't love that God. God doesn't need you to love him. God doesn't need you to like him. He doesn't need your faith. He doesn't need your worship. He doesn't need you, period. And if that sounds really cruel and mean, this is the cold, dark hand of truth you're listening to. So, yeah, that's that. And if you're like, well, that's not my God, well, then that's not the God of the Bible. My God would never send illegal people back to the countries they came from who broke the rules of this new country. If I went to London and I shot somebody in the foot, would London arrest me? Yes, they would. So if I came into London illegally, would I also be arrested and exported back to my country? Yes, I would. So, but if America does that, he's evil. That doesn't even make sense. You see? So yeah, the illegal part is the part that CNN and MSNBC and ABC and NBC and all the BBC and all the C's and all the D's and all the LMNOPs and the LGBTTs, they all don't want to acknowledge the word illegal. Trump has no problem with anybody who comes here illegally from any country, including Iraq or Iran. My old business partner was from Iran. Trump doesn't have a problem with my business partner. So he doesn't have a problem with the country you come from or the color of your skin or anything like that. He has a problem with the word illegal. When you break the law, you've done something bad. You've broken the law. That's that. If they come here legally, cool, awesome. But this kind of mentality of and I hear it. I watched it as little as possible, but I watched the news and how they talk about it, and it's absolutely hilarious. It's scarily hilarious how when they talk about this stuff, you guys, they're why don't listen. Let me say this. Has anybody seen the video footage of when they brought the homeless to Nancy Pelosi's house, or when they brought the homeless to the Hollywood celebrities' homes, and they said, "Here, go inside this celebrity's home, and just live here and eat the food and do it." Have you seen those videos where they did that? And the people called the police, and they all have walls on their houses, by the way, and they all made sure that nobody could come into their house. Why? Because they're like, well, I bought this food. That's my toilet paper. That's my paper towels. That's my food. That's my meal. That's my water, right? They don't want to share it. So it's really interesting that every single woke person wants to let in these people into the country, but they don't want to let them into their own home. They don't want them to take directly from their table or from their mouth or from their resources, right? So all I'm saying is if you don't believe in illegal, you don't believe that illegal entrance is illegal, it's not a bad thing, then let them into your home. Open your home and see how long your home lasts as your home. That's it. It's as simple as that, folks. There's no arguing. Just let them in. Let as many people who want to come into your home, raid your fridge, raid your resources, your children's clothing. What if their child has no clothing? Bible says give the clothing. Okay. Are you that person? Put a sign on the outside of your door, put a sign in every downtown or the closest downtown city of where you live. If you believe Trump is doing a bad thing by removing the illegal people, you put a sign downtown. It says, anybody who is lacking, come to my house, place your address on the sign, and tell them they can enter at any time they want. The doors will never be locked, and they can take anything they are lacking. So a person who's lacking a TV can take yours. A person who's lacking a car can take yours. A person who's lacking food can take yours. See how long your house itself stands, right? And if you're not willing to do that, then you have a problem with the word illegal. There's no which way, shape, or form about it. This is it. Allison says, to Ricardo, you're replying. So I hope that I answered that question for you there, Marie Sanders. I hope it helps. And I don't know if that clip will be useful for your families to watch, but I mean, it is what it is. It's not my opinion. That's what the Bible says. So, Rikara, Allison. Okay, you guys are talking to each other. That's good. Allison, so do you think the Sixth Trumpet War, World War III, will happen soon, like under Trump's presidency? So interesting. Can't stop speculating. Yeah, it could. It could happen in Trump's thing because here's the thing. If if Trump puts somebody, so there's no way to attack America except with a nuke, right? So like an EMP, which would still be a nuke. They would just, if you don't know what an EMP is, just real quick, because there's only two ways to really take out America, right? Number one way is nukes. Number two way is nukes that don't hit the ground. So if you wanted to be a good guy or good person, but take out America, what you do is you drop nukes over America, but it doesn't hit the ground. So you would make it explode in the air above the ground. And what that does is it sends an electrical gamma, like electrical pulse out. It's called the EMP, electrical magnetic pulse. Sorry, I have to burp. And what happens is anything that has electronics, your cell phone, your car, the grid itself, everything gets annihilated. Nothing that has any type of electrical component in it survives, as long as it had a battery in it or it was connected to some type of energy source. If you put it in a Faraday cage or a Faraday bag, or you have it like safe and it doesn't have any type of electrical ability to surge, then it will be fine. But the problem is that your batteries won't be. So even if you put a battery in, if the battery wasn't kept in a Faraday cage or kept in a Faraday bag or some type of situation like that, your batteries are going to be zonked anyways as well. So you just have a bunch of plastic and metal pieces sitting around. So if you wanted to destroy America, the only thing you'd have to do is drop an EMP, like 3 EMPs, one in the middle, one on each coast, and the country is going to eat itself alive. It will totally go to civil war. Not like South versus North or East versus West. It'll be neighbor versus neighbor. It'll be full on zombie apocalypse. Full on every American will just kill the American next door to feed their kids. If you want to take out America, it's the number one way to do it. Just drop 3 EMPs or 2 MPs, take out the electrical grid, and most Americans, even in like suburbia, don't have the ability they wouldn't be able to grow food fast enough. They don't have supplies of food and water. They don't know how to, one, remove radiation from water. There would be a shortage of all food and all resources, and Americans would just kill each other. They'd have to. They would have to kill each other, or they would starve. There's no way of the American populace living with an EMP. It's the easiest, simplest way to take out America. So that doesn't mean that a country's going to come and invade America and take over the land like Germany tried to do to Europe. It's not that. Nobody's dumb enough to try that, right? So because Americans have guns, and guns don't, luckily right now, guns don't use any type of electrical situation. America has more guns than the rest of the countries combined. America has more ammunition. The civilians of America have more ammunition than the rest of the militaries of the world combined. The citizens of America, they buy 1.8 to 2 billion bullets a year. That's how much America has. 1.8 to 2.1 billion bullets are bought every year by American citizens. So nobody would be dumb enough to try to come and take over America, even if they EMP'd it. What they would do is they would just let America eat itself alive, and then they would go do whatever evil they want. And the fact that America has so many guns, and the fact that there's so many people who don't know how to use guns, or America's so polarized. There's not really like a middle group, right? Like how we have a middle class is the greatest form of strength for a country. Well, in war, in a civil war situation, to have like a middle group that can keep the balance is what you want. But in our situation, America has no middle anymore. We have a very far right and we have a very far left. And the people on the very far left do not believe in guns, and they don't believe in growing their own food, and they don't even, they care about whether it's vegan or whether it's kosher or whether it's gluten free, but they don't know how to grow it, they don't know how to milk it, they don't know how to build it, right? Whereas the rest of the country, the people who control the food, they have all the guns, they have all the ammo, they have all the ability to survive. So the far right, the military trained, the military minded, the farm raised people of the United States would be the only people who would live. And the Amish, they live the best, actually. Unless some psychos came and killed them to take their food, which most likely would happen because I don't know if Amish have guns. So my point is to say is that, like, all you need is this EMP situation. And the crazy thing about an EMP is nobody gets killed, except for maybe people like me with a pacemaker. But, like, nobody else gets killed. So you didn't kill anybody. You just shut down the country. And once you shut down the country destroys itself or starves to death or dehydrates to death because we don't have running water anymore. We don't have nothing. So, yeah. So my point is to say is that if America went to war with itself, it'd be city versus rural. And the city people they couldn't survive longer than, like, I think 9 days. With zero trucks moving, because every car would freeze, every train would freeze, every plane would freeze. The planes would fall out of the sky, so anybody in a plane is screwed. Like, anything that moves would be frozen. Refrigerators are out, so frozen food has maybe 2 days before you have to eat it. So if it's not freeze dried, your canned foods will be bad within at least a few years. Freeze dried is the only way to go because it lasts 25 years, 20 years. That's the only way to go to live till Christ returns. You have to have a 20-year support, 10, 15-year supply of food until Christ returns if you're going to live with no electricity. But you also have to know how to catch water and filter it, and you have to know how to make fire. You have to know how to defend yourself. And the only people who know how to do that are the right-sided people with all the guns. So all the people in the city, they're just going to kill themselves. And all the thugs with the guns, they're going to kill everybody and collect for themselves. They're going to go to the rich neighborhoods and they're going to collect everything they've ever wanted. And then they're going to possibly have all the jewelry and the gold and the metal to at least exchange with, because they were smart enough to go in and kill everybody and take all their goods early on. So whoever basically who's like a mafia-minded person is going to be the people who live. The horrible, evil people will be the people who live. Or the people who were, rednecks or stupid or ignorant or podunk, all the people that the world makes fun of, who creates the food for the world. So yeah, if you're not prepared in that way, and when America goes to its new civil war, if it got EMP'd or President Trump got killed, one of those two things would do it. It would be city versus rural, and the rural would totally destroy the cities. The rural wouldn't even have to do anything. We just let the cities burn themselves to the ground within like 2 weeks. And that's that. So it's really horrible. But I mean, so to answer your question, just drop a bomb. Just drop an EMP on America. It's done. It will eat itself alive. So you don't even have to nuke it. You don't have to kill anybody. That's why I always say, I hope the sentence I always say is, I hope the bomb falls on me. That's what I say. If somebody's going to nuke America, I want the bomb to fall on my head. Not be a mile away, not like 10 miles away. I don't want radiation poisoning. Like, I want the thing to fall on my head so I'm vaporized in a second, and I don't even, like, I'm just sitting here, and then next thing you know, I'm in heaven. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I want. I want the bomb to fall on my head. And I'm living now near Nashville. I live in a place where Nashville would absolutely be a spot would nuke, 100% be a spot that they would nuke. So I'm aware of that. So I'm happy about that. But my fear is they'd EMP it instead of dropping the actual bomb on the ground. I want the bomb to hit the ground. I don't want it to explode in the air. That's my personal take. Anyways, I told you, I gave you a Surgeon General warning at the beginning of this video. You guys want me to talk about this? I'm reading comments, if you're wondering. Let's see. So, Marie Sanders, sorry that last part of my question post came out weird. What I meant was I'm trying to say that I am not trying to cause debate. I'm seeking some clarification on this back and forth of my question. I understand. I hope that I came out like explaining it pretty good, though. So, do you think the Sixth Trumpet War, this is Allison, do you think the Sixth Trumpet War, World War III, will happen soon, like under Trump's presidency? So, can you stop it? So interesting. Okay, so that was the question that I got off on that tangent on, right? So the reason I went off on that tangent was if somebody EMP'd America, our response would be to nuke them. And if America dropped nukes on them, there's a very good likely response that we would actually get nuked. So even if we got EMP'd, sorry, I'm answering the question still, we have a knee-jerk reaction where we have like phases. I hope you guys are interested in this. You may not know this, but America used to have one phase or a major phase of nuclear deterrent. Okay. And what that is that if we got nuked, we dropped, I think it was something like 3,000 nukes on the enemy that attacked us. So we would just do, I can't remember what it was called, but it's basically, my terminology is blanketed. I think they call it chaos response or something like that. So the point is that they would completely annihilate the country, right? They would just blanket it with nukes. But now America has phases. So what would happen is we would first attack their nuclear silos, the place where their nukes are. That's the first round. If we perceive that that's not enough, then we would attack like their infrastructure, their dams, their electricity, their resources, their infrastructure where they build their military weapons, where they process their food and things like that. So that's the second phase. Then the third phase would be they attack like the government buildings to try to attack that situation or take them out. And then the fourth or fifth phase, there's like, I think maybe two more phases, but the fifth phase is complete like annihilation, right? So it was during Bush Jr. Yeah, it was during 9/11. 9/11 caused America to get out of the treaty that basically was the reduction of nuclear deterrence, right? Like we stopped that treaty. We got out of it during 9/11. And then we got out of it though after like Russia got out of it. Russia didn't take away their bombs as they said they were going to, but we still played ball because again, America realized the value of looking like the good guy. So there was this whole thing where they were supposed to reduce and America was the only one reducing. But we all had like 20,000 nukes. So even though America was down to like 5,000 nukes, and I think Russia was down to like 10,000 nukes, but they stopped at like 10,000 and they stopped at all these other things and we kept going. It just made us look like the good guys again. And that was the whole point. But when 9/11 happened, Bush Jr. got out of that. He's like, I'm done. We're doing whatever the hell we want. And then we went to the Iraq war or, that whole deal, and that happened. So everything's been changed since, which again matches with the fifth trumpet situation. Why is that a woe? Because everybody's hands were like, we're done. We're done with this treaty stuff. Clearly nobody's actually fulfilling their side of the bargain. We're just going to do what's right for our countries. And now look at where we are. We're kind of back at like another form of Cold War, right? So, yeah. So anyways, that I mentioned this structure is that if America got actually EMP'd, depending on the severity of it, we would do like phases of nukes. But the problem is that there's these ally situations where if Russia were to get nuked back, even though they nuked us first, these other countries are supposed to nuke us, and then we're supposed to nuke them for nuking us. And because most of our nukes are in submarines and bombs that are in the air, bombers that are in the air 24/7, there's always bombers in the air that have these bombs, these nukes in them, and our submarines have 600 warheads at any given time out there in the ocean, and each one of those warheads have 12 to 15 warheads in each one. So basically, it's enough to kill the whole world over. Just what's actually operating, that's not even the stuff that's in the ground, right? Like that's not even the stuff in the silos. That's just our planes and our boats have on them, right? It's enough to kill the whole world over. So yeah, everybody should be totally terrified of a nuclear holocaust, but that should make sense of how 1/3 of the world population dies. And if somebody in the area where the Euphrates River goes through should get a hold of a single nuke, and that nuke, Like if America were to bomb, let's just say a city or a base, not a nuke, but just bomb it, or Russia or somebody else were to bomb it, and that one of those countries that has the Euphrates River going through it, if they should retaliate with a nuke to show the world they have them, it would be a domino effect that would be absolutely devastating. When America dropped the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, there was no retaliation nuke possibility. Hence, once there was a retaliation possibility, one has never been dropped again. If one of the strongholds on the Euphrates River gets attacked with a normal bomb, and that leader feels like they need to flex and show the world that they're capable of standing with the big boys, and they drop a nuke on anybody anywhere in the world, it could totally create the nuke holocaust, which would kill 1/3 of the world's population. So that's where I think it's going. That's just my calculus, because it's the only way I see 1/3 of the world dying. Like nobody is going to stick around long enough to watch 1/3 of the world die. America wouldn't stick around long enough to watch 1/3 of the world slowly die. Like we wouldn't. We would totally get involved and we would stop that nonsense immediately, right? So the only way I perceive it could happen would be nukes. It's the only possible. But I trust that the Bible's telling the truth, that 1/3 of the world's going to die. So I'm persuaded it has to be a nuke situation. And I'm persuaded that if it says that the Sixth Trumpet War starts at the Euphrates River, I'm persuaded that it means that one of those cities on the Euphrates River gets attacked and then they retaliate. And we already know that those guys are constantly threatening death to Israel, death to America, death to this and that. You know, we're going to get nukes and we're going to kill you all. We're going to annihilate you completely. So they're already confessing they want to do this. These countries that have this Euphrates River running through them, they're already talking that way. This religion that runs through the Euphrates River, let's put it that way. So it just makes sense. I would love to be, and I'm not saying that the Lord told me here, guys. I'm saying this is my mathematic calculation of how it would go down. Allison says, actually completely agree, and I've thought it. She's not saying she agrees with what I just said. She's agreeing to something I said later on. So Allison says, I completely agree. I've thought it would be the pre-trib situation if I don't make it through the Sixth Trumpet War, assuming it happens before the Great Trib, which Scripture says it will, because brother will rise against brother, etc. Exactly. Mark 13. Julie Hart says, I'm ready to go home. Me too. Especially with my body breaking down like it is right now. It hurts so bad. I could totally go home right now. Okay, Carrie says, the Lord probably wanted everyone who would be at your city to go through and grow through their faith by not having that city. Yeah, I agree. Or something. We will have to just wait to party together when it's all over. I agree, Carrie Ann. I had to accept that. But as you guys know who have been around long enough and watched my Q&As long enough, you know that it really broke my heart to not be able to. And I don't mean to say this in an arrogant, pompous, flesh way, but I it was just my hope as I wanted to save human lives, because I felt like if I could save human lives, I could save, I could help bring more souls to the kingdom, So, and I was on course to do so. So it did. It hurt. It hurt really bad that didn't happen. It really messed with my spirit in great, great ways. But if you've been around long enough, you already know that. So Teresa says, interesting you mention Elon. When you can, read my post. Okay. No, not Trump. I don't hate Trump. Okay, that's fine. Cool. Do you think Antichrist comes from the Middle East? No. The reason I don't think the Antichrist comes from the Middle East, he could. And I know there's prophecies that says that he will, but I'm not thinking that that's the case, because European countries are not going to follow a Muslim more today than ever before. They're not going to follow a Muslim. So he'd have to be a Middle Eastern who's not Muslim. Maybe he's an atheist or something, but then why would he call himself a god? I don't know. I'm not saying it's not possible, but I don't perceive that the European countries are going to follow a Muslim like that. European countries are pretty pissed at Muslims right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if I wouldn't be surprised if I was living in the Middle East. I'd be super scared because like they keep poking the bear, and the bear keeps going, "I'm sorry, your stick broke on my eyeball. I'm sorry, your stick broke in my rib. I'm sorry that your stick got bloody from when you stabbed me with your stick." Like the Western world is doing that to the Muslim countries. "Oh, I'm so sorry you got blood on your stick when you poked me. I'm so sorry that I got angry when you poked me with your stick." But when the bear starts to turn and goes, "Poke me again and you're done." You only need one. You only need one in our modern day with modern weaponry for basically Middle East to just be gone. Like, really, you only need one. Which, again, could be that Six Trumpet War, Euphrates River situation, right? Like, somebody could poke the bear and somebody new gets into power, some young buck who wants the world to know we ain't playing around no more. And most likely they would be a right winger. And then they would drop the bomb, and then then maybe a Muslim antichrist could rise up. So that's how I perceive it. Somebody who's a right winger has to do something really, really bad, like drop a nuke first, and then they get taken out or replaced. And then if the Muslims took the brunt of the attack, or a lot of them died, then I perceive that then it would be a Muslim who could be the Antichrist, because there's kind of like that whole guilt thing. You know what I'm saying? Hope that makes sense. They're like, "We're so sorry our leader nuked you. That was super wrong. You shouldn't have done that. You only poked us 10,000 times. It's not your fault." You know? Catherine says, "What's Canada's role in the end time?" I don't know. Your government's super weird if you're a Canadian. Your government's super weird with its wokeism. It's the weirdest. To me, Canada is the weirdest thing. I mean, you guys are like, you're like the nice wilderness people. I'm shocked of how woke Canada is, or at least your leadership is. I'm shocked. I never thought Canada would be that way. But I don't know. The only thing I'm concerned about with Canada is if for some, which it would never happen, but the only thing I could see is that if Canada had a leader that basically turned on America, that would never happen. I don't think anybody would have enough balls to be Canada. Like, we wouldn't even need to, like, no, that would be just, Canada would be the dumbest thing to piss us off like that, to betray us and like let Nazi Germany in. You know what I'm saying? That would be crazy. Crazy. So I don't know. I really don't. I hope Canada's role is to be friends with America. And I hope Mexico's role is to be friends with America too. I really do. It'd be awesome if, not that we all became one country, but like we kind of created a three-country union. You know what I mean? Like we all were like, Mexico's like, "All right, dude, you know what? Never mind these cartels. Sorry, cartel guys. You know, I love you. Don't shoot me or kill me or nothing. I mean, not that I don't mind dying, but I know anytime you talk about the cartels on the internet, they find your video and they get pissed at you and they kill you. But I'm just saying, like, if the country were to be like, okay, us as Mexico is going to be friends with America and just the rest of the world, I feel like cartels wouldn't want that, because they want to sell their goods to the whole world. They're capitalists, let's face it. So anyways, my point is to say that it'd be awesome for Mexico and Canada and America to be like, let's close this as a border. Like, we three together are good. And then that way there's more room and more places for more people to come as well. You know what I'm saying? But then now I'm kind of throwing Canada in there for like letting us come to your place, and people in Canada are already like, "Listen, Americans, we love you, but stop. If Trump wins, you can't come here. We've already got the memo." So, I'm not trying to offer up that Canada. But yeah, I don't know. Only reason I know America is because it's clearly kind of defined in the Bible, where it says the eagle's wings get ripped off of the lion's back and take the form of a man. And then it talks about the eagle swooping in and protecting Israel. And then it talks about the eagle crying out for the fifth trumpet. It seems very much that America and America plays a very big role in the world in its military, the war type of positioning. So I perceive that that's why America is mentioned in the Bible. But yeah, Sue says, thanks for your answer. The truth is the most important thing. I'm an American, and I'm glad that my parents were able to immigrate to the U.S. after World War II. Hallelujah. Great too. That's awesome. Rachel says, hello, everyone. Just now joining. Good to see you all, Nathan. And I know I didn't stop this video at 1 hour, guys, but I just figured this was kind of like the same kind of chunk of dialogue. So I didn't want to break this one up. Love how many Q&As there have been. Awesome. Carrie Ann says, ooh, is there a buyayen.com we can head to? I would not buy a yen if I was you. I would not. America, the country, the government has to buy the yen, but I wouldn't buy a yen because in order for them to hurt America, they have to make it become worth nothing. So the last thing you want to do is invest your money, period, into the yen. That's not a good way to go. They have a ton of land by military bases, so I'm hoping they lay the smackdown on that. Yep. Carrie says, Nate, you got to get in there and talk to him about all this so he knows what to do. You know, there was an opportunity where I could have. We do have mutual friends, and as you guys know, I did meet Trump, and I took him and his family out to dinner and out to a club one night in LA, so that was a pretty cool experience. But unfortunately, I lost his cell phone number, and I'm not able to call him. And I don't know if I could reach him, and I don't know if he'd even care what I have to say. Unfortunately, I'm not a world-leading podcaster, so I don't have an audience where I think Trump would care what I have to say. But I was thinking that maybe the reason I met him all those years ago was because of I'd be able to talk to him about this. But if you're friends with Trump and you watch my content and you think just tell him a friend of Hal's says hello. That should be enough to remind him who I am. Rachel, our military is much weaker than it used to be. My husband has been infantry for the last 20 years, and he's always telling me how it's such a different army now. The soldiers are too soft. The young guys don't shoot well, stuff like that. Yep, I agree, Rachel. I agree, but the American military knows that, and that's why they're doing the drones, and they're taking their investment away from the infantry, and they're putting their money into robotics and drones. So, but we still need boots on the ground, as they say, but yeah. But we're still the most militaristically trained, well, maybe other than Afghan, but we're maybe second most military trained country in the world. So even us in our decline is stronger than any other military train-wise, other than maybe the Afghans. The Afghans are the only people who have seen more war than America has. It's kind of crazy, right? So America has the most trained humans of actual combat with the best technology. Like, that's crazy to think of that we've seen that much war in the last 50 years. Rachel says, I see the comparison to the Old Testament, but wouldn't it be different if Trump was being Christ-like, though? Do you mean to be the Antichrist? The Antichrist isn't Christ-like. The Antichrist is a politician. Christ was not a politician. And Trump, I don't perceive Trump being Christ-like in holiness. I don't see that happening at all. If Trump was going to be Christ-like, it would have started when he got shot, and there was a change for sure, but it didn't like turn him into a monk. You know what I mean? That's not happening. Yeah. Julie Hart says, I think in Hawaii, when the government tested off the coast, it blew up light bulbs too. Yeah, absolutely. Anytime they did that stuff, it did. It will only be the Lord to protect Mom and I, otherwise we will be killed off. That's the case for most of us, Julie. It really is. It's the case for most of us. Yeah. Do you have to go do some Ubering? I do. I do have to go do some Ubering, but seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all the things will be given unto you, right? So, yeah, I do. I got to go in a little while here. Nighttime is the best money maker, anyhoozle. Not that I want for this to end. I just remember you saying you had to do that still. I do. Rachel says, these are hard conversations, but I am always interested in these kind of discussions. Thanks for sharing, Nathan. No, it is my pleasure, even though it's not super fun. Susan says, your opinion on aliens and UFOs being more prevalent in the world today? What part do you think that they could play in end times? They really freak me out. So I think that aliens are going to become a big part of our future. I believe that they're actually going to become, reveal themselves officially. And I think that the Antichrist is going to be somebody who they endorse. And I am not persuaded that UFOs and aliens are beings from other planets, but are fallen angels. That is my persuasion, that they're fallen angels. So I think that they are part of Lucifer's. They're part of his minions, and yeah, they will go under the guise of being an alien, another higher life force, which would make a lot of sense to debunk the Bible, make a lot of sense to explain the pyramids all over the world and all the technology we can't explain, ancient alien type of deal, right? And it would only confirm atheism even more. So I think that it's one of the greatest things that the devil has been slowly devising this bait and switch kind of thing, if you will, or this kind of like confusion, is establishing them as aliens from another planet or aliens from outer space. Like, it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And then that way, Christians look like they're just these barbaric, stuck in the past morons. And when they try to say what I just said, which is that, aliens are fallen angels, they're like, oh my God, these Christians won't let it up. They won't give up this stupid thing, the Bible. God, angels are so dumb. It just makes sense. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant way to like make even believers go, wait a second, maybe I'm not. And then especially think about this, if you're in a church that believes in pre-trib and your faith is based upon if God loves you, your life is good, right? Most of the pre-trib churches have, if God loves you, your life is good. That's the reason why they promote pre-trib. It's because they even say the sentence in these churches. I've heard them say it so many times and seen it in so many other videos. If God loved you, how loving would that be of God to make us go through the tribulations? So they literally calculate God loves you equals better life, right? That's totally not what the Bible says. So if that's your mindset and your life gets hard and you're alive and 1/3 of the world's population dies in a war, period, doesn't have to be nukes, but just 1/3 of the world's population dies, you're going to be like, yo, where's God? And then when 1/3 of the world's population dies, that's going to affect food, that's going to affect water, it's going to affect cleanliness, it's going to affect peace, it's going to affect fear, it's going to affect disease. So all these things are going to domino, right? And then they're going to be like, wow, life got bad real quick overnight and I'm still here. And the pastors aren't going to have any excuse, because people are then going to go on the internet and start searching, and they're going to find people like myself who have been saying for 10 years, hey, look for the third temple, look for the third temple. And people are going to look at the third temple, and then they're going to find out that if the third temple's built, it means they're in the last 7 years. And then they're going to go, oh my gosh, I'm here for the end times. And then the Antichrist is going to come up, and the false prophet's going to call down an alien or a UFO, and then he's going to say, yeah, look, the aliens have been talking to us, they've been coaching us, they've been telling us how to save the world so we don't annihilate each other. There's a guy with a plan, this is the guy, and that's the Antichrist. So if you're a Christian and you were like, I'm not supposed to be here when all this goes down, and then you are here when it goes down and your life gets hard, it's going to be really hard to not believe that the Bible's a lie. It's going to be really, really hard to not believe the Bible's a lie when aliens themselves are saying, we're the things you thought were gods. We're the things you thought were angels. But we have been watching you, and now your world is in danger of destroying itself, and you're out of control, and we are now realizing we have to intervene. We have to come in, we have to help you. And we have chosen this human, Antichrist, to lead the way of the plan we have for you. It's going to be really hard for pre-trib, life is good if you're a Christian, to not buy that hook, line, and sinker. It's going to be super hard for them to be like, I mean, it makes sense because I'm still here. I was supposed to be raptured. I'm not. I'm still here. So clearly it's the aliens. Because look, there they are. Look, there they are. They're in the sky. They're watching us. They're flying around. They're talking with us. They're meeting with our government. Like, can you imagine? Like, it's going to be super easy for people to not believe in the Bible when aliens come out and say we're real. As aliens, not as fallen angels, right? Super easy for them to believe that. That's why, to me, the most evil thing in all the world is the pre-trib doctrine, because it's the beginning of basically sealing the fate of so many souls, because you're going to confuse the daylight out of them. There's just no way they're going to be able to believe if you've totally convinced them their whole life that they shouldn't be here. It's the most evil thing in all the world. Pre-trib is the most evil thing, because in my opinion, it is the greatest blow, the greatest strike to dooming souls that Satan has up his sleeve. There's nothing that will doom more souls and cause more people to stop believing that once believed or would believe. There is no other tactic he has that's greater than that. It's to think that God failed or God lied. Genius. I mean, you got to give credit where credit's due. Genius. And where did he do it? He did it from within the church, not outside the church, from within the church. And how was he able to do it? By making sure nobody read the book for themselves. Isn't that crazy? I mean, you got to tip your hat to the guy, right? You got to. As evil as he is, he's a genius. Super smart. Allison, Sean Ryan did an interview with someone about nuclear war that was fascinating. Talked about if a nuke is released, the press has like 30 seconds max to decide which, of course, they would retaliate. Some say Israel and our defense systems wouldn't let that happen. No, but I disagree based on believing what the Bible says. Yeah. First of all, it could totally happen. It could totally happen. So if Russia launches a nuke from their soil, we have a chance of shooting it out of the air. However, like our nukes, they have their missiles have these warheads inside of it, right? So what happens is that you have this huge, let me see. I don't want to use, okay, let's say this. You have this huge missile going into the air, right? I mean, it's green. Is it invisible? It is. All my stuff is green. You have this huge missile going through the air. But then when it gets to like its halfway point to where it's going to start going down, or let's say the last third, the tip of it comes off. You guys may know this, but I'm just explaining to you. The tip of it comes off, right? And it's significantly smaller, right? And then when that comes off, you have like 10 or 15 to 20 little nuke heads that are in that. So then the tip like of the rocket head falls away, and then the 20 potential heads of each one of their own nukes inside the one missile head, and then it falls away, and then you have 20 nukes falling to 20 different locations. You have to basically shoot. They're so small, it's like shooting a bullet to stop a bullet. So is America good? We're good. We're good. Are we that good? Maybe once, maybe twice. But if they did it, like if they sent 10 of them at a time, no. Some of them are getting through. And you only need like 2. You only need 2 to be EMP to destroy America. Really, you only need, if you had them just like strategically located over the central energy sources, America will eat itself alive. You really actually only even need 1, but America would be able to survive 1 pretty good. We'd come back in like 5 or 6 years, which kind of would also biblically make sense. But if you did 3, we're done. We're gone. Nothing's coming back online. except for like maybe some military stuff that's hiding in the bunkers, I believe, underneath the ground. Which, ironically enough, our country has tons of new bunkers. Why do you think that is? Right? They know. They know. They know. So yeah. So what was the question? Our defense systems would have protect it. Mm-mm. No, not all of it. We couldn't. The only real defense we have is a deterrent, and it's just they have to believe that we'll just destroy them. And Trump's crazy enough that the countries believe. Did you guys notice that the night after or 2 days after Trump became president, Putin and the Middle East were like, we want peace. We want to do a sit down and we want to talk peace. They're not going to do that with a guy who's pooping his pants on stage in front of the world governments, right? On TV. They're not going to do that. 2 days after he gets elected, they already have their speeches drafted up. We don't want to go to war. We want to get out of this war that we got in when Trump was gone. And so that's proof that they believe he would do it. And you need somebody. You need a president who the world will think will do it. You need it. You need him to be just on the line of a little crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you might hit that button. And we piss that guy off enough, he might hit those buttons. We don't want him to hit the button. See, when what's his name is in office, when Poop Boy is in office, right? Everybody's like, dude, let's just take these countries now. Let's make our move now. The guy's asleep at the wheel. We're not in danger. Listen, all we have to do is offer him money. He'll let us take these countries. Are you kidding? Or if anything, he's going to make money off of the world war complex, right? The industrial war complex. He'll make money off of feeding these countries bullets and bombs and drones. He'll love it. He'll milk it. Him and his family will make a fortune, right? They love it. This is the time to move. Trump gets elected. All right, so we think the war should come to an end. Clearly this is a bad idea. We've made a mistake over the last 4 years. We are sorry. We'd like to have a sit down and consider our current situation. That's what you want. You want them to be a little crazy. You want to be a little crazy leader. It's just on the edge. Maybe once in a while does one of these in the middle of a speech. I'd like to thank our country for its participation in supporting those people who are in need with the welfare. You want just a little bit of a twitch, just a little, not too often, not like he's just a tiny little, might hit the button. Ooh, okay. That's what we have. We have that now. So now all of a sudden, 2 days later, he's not even president, and the world's wars are already stopping. So am I concerned for him? 100%, 100%. Because if you did want to nuke the world, you wouldn't want him here. And isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting that one person can affect the world like that? It also goes to show you, too, that when a country like America sends in troops and drops all these little bombs and all this little stuff, they don't have to. They don't have to do that. America does not have to do that. It's beneficial for us to do that because they call it the theater, right? So America does this thing where we show up and we have helicopters and tanks and we show our military might, and our aircraft carriers show up, and then the troops hit the ground and we show the people, hey, we're here for you and all that kind of stuff. We don't have to do that. If you have a really, really strong leader in the office of America, all he has to do is get on the television and go, all I can say, it's not my Trump, I'm just making up a new voice so nobody thinks the president doesn't think I'm making fun of him. All we can say is, you better stop. In the next 24 hours, if you do it again, you're just not going to be here anymore. Good night, and go to bed. But you got to be just crazy enough that they believe you. And you never have to send a troop. You never have to risk another American life ever again. You just got to have somebody in leadership who they think will do it. That's it. Not hard. And Trump's proof of that. He got elected and the wars are stopping. It's proof. Some people have suggested Elon as Speaker of the House. I think he's going to be better in his role as the government. Was he calling it dope or goad? Goad? What is it? What is it called? The basically seeing where America's spending all its money, right? That's genius. That's genius. That's true genius right there. That was a smart. That's going to save America. And isn't it interesting, my brothers and sisters of the world, that as I'm sitting here telling you that the American dollar is backed by zero, except for our reputation. That's the only thing holding the American dollar where it's at. It's literally floating on the fumes of helium. Like, as soon as those fumes are gone, it's zero. American dollar's zero, right? So it's floating on the fumes of reputation. As soon as that is done, we're gone. And all of a sudden, God raises up this Elon guy at the same time that Trump comes. And Elon said it was him getting shot that made him step up to the plate, right? So Trump gets shot in the ear, which moves Elon, which also unifies JFK, Jr., right? Or whatever his name is, Kennedy, right? To step up and be like, even if I don't win, I'm on board. Let's do this, right? So like all this stuff because he got shot. Like they realized, like, dude, this guy's legit. He got shot. It's a thing. And I know there's people out there who think Trump shot himself. No sniper's that good. You would never trust anybody with their life that good, even if it was 150 yards away. You wouldn't do it. And he moved his head at the right time. There's nobody's that good. Clearly you've never shot a gun if you think that that's the case. So my point is to say is that it's interesting to me that America needs all of its financial hemorrhaging to stop because we don't have the oil money coming anymore. And all of a sudden, Elon's like, I want to come in and I want to help America basically get audited, and we got to stop all the financial hemorrhaging. I see this as God's hands, you guys. I'm just telling you. I see this as like, wow. I mean, I knew all this was coming. I knew that the dollar was going to get off the oil. They were talking about it. They've been planning it. We know that there's going to be a digital currency for the one world government. I've seen all this stuff coming for so long. And then all of a sudden, as it happens, boom, 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 all these players come up to the plate. And they have a plan that could help. It could help. But if a nut job nukes us, it's not going to be good. The people argument is not what. That is people's argument for them not wanting Trump to kick out the illegals out because they say he's not. Because he's not Christ-like. No, that's not true. That's not true. Julie says, "How do you know all this? Is this the normal battle guy stuff? You mean the military-wise? I don't know. Listen, I have been studying this since before I ever did my first video on Truth and Be Free. So this has been what I spend my time on. When other people are at the clubs, having fun, getting jiggy, looking for a girlfriend, I was sitting there reading the Bible and, preparing for end times. Since I read the Bible, since the very first time I read the Bible and I realized, oh my gosh, this is happening in my lifetime, which was 2004. So since 2004, this is what I spend my free time. This is what I fill my brain with. So yeah. Therese says it would also be genius to place the Antichrist within the White House. No, it'd be too obvious. But I could see it. I'm not going to try to shut down that statement. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Therese. I got you. I feel your comment. I feel your comment. It could be done. If it was the other way from Trump. So what I'm saying is if the other person going against Trump won, then I'm not saying that person could be the Antichrist. That's not the case. But I am saying that that they could put in the laws that would allow the Antichrist to come and then not be ever taken out. So, yeah. And then if the Antichrist was the person in the United States and then said, we're doing away with the Constitution, we're dissolving America as we know it, and we are going to dissolve America into the one world government. And the deal is America will allow the one world government, which is a shell at the time, to be absorbed, right? So if the one world government shell concept says we are nothing until we have money and military might, and the United States leader says, I'm willing to allow America to dissolve into the one world government. So all that is America's is now the one world government's under one condition. I'm the world's first president. That could totally happen. Yes, that could totally happen. Yeah, if the person was, I mean, and that would be an antichrist-like move because they're so egotistical that they're willing to literally kill America to be the president of the entire of the whole world, So that doesn't make sense. That would be the way to go. But since Trump is the one saying, no, we want to pull away from the world and we want to heal America, that's the exact opposite move of that antichrist move. So just saying. Nathan, do you get affected by the floods and the hurricanes? No, luckily I didn't get affected. The place where I live, it's kind of up on a hill. So when I choose a place that I live, I always think, I literally drive around the block. I drive in the neighborhoods. I find out where the police station is, where the hospitals are. I find out where water sources are before I move into any place I live. And the place I live it should be pretty safe. Even if hurricanes and floods came, I should be pretty safe. So Kaylee says the bumpkin accent works for Nate. Love it. Awesome. My southern accent. Let's see. Julie Hart says, gonna get America whooping. Yeah, they would. Rachel says, I think because Elon bought Twitter, there was a stop to a lot of censorship. Yep. He supported Trump. He played a huge part in Trump's win. He did. He played a huge part in Trump's win. And also, it's my understanding he's considering buying CNN and Disney. And I hope he does. So he is helping to bring Disney down, which I hope he does. And I think CNN is worth like nothing. So it's got the worst ratings like ever. If he bought CNN and he did to CNN what he did to Twitter, then it would definitely be another move in the right direction. And if he bought Disney, it would be another move in the right direction because as rich he is as he is now, yeah, he would literally be the most powerful person in the world. If he had the government seat where he is auditing the United States from within the United States government as a government official, he owns SpaceX, Tesla, Twitter X, CNN, and Disney. And then most likely he would get some type of military contract for our new rockets to take out nuclear threats. He'd probably close that deal. I don't know if he would be allowed to close it while in government. He wouldn't be able to, but they always have ways of doing that. If he became like a Northern Grumman, however you say that company, if he became like the next one of those while owning Disney and CNN and Twitter, he'd be like the most powerful person in the world. Like real power. Crazy. We're talking like crazy power. And then if he was for America, we'd have a chance of being like if he was really for America. And I'm not saying I know that he is. I've never met Elon. Some of my friends are friends with him, but I've never met him. I don't know the guy for real, but I know he works on some really weird things. I know he has really weird stances on God. And I know he's trying to go to Mars. And I know that all the billionaires are trying to go to Mars because they know the way the world's headed. I know that's the reason why. Small billionaires are trying to have yachts and trying to move to New Zealand. And big billionaires are trying to go to Mars. That should tell you something. They know that this place is at some point in the future not going to be livable. There's no benefit to living on Mars. It doesn't have an atmosphere. They'd have to make an atmosphere. The soil has no biological life in it. You know, the movie The Martian where, you know, Matt Damon poops and then he puts his poop in the soil and the plants live? No, no, my friends, no. It would take a lot more than that. You need a lot more biolife in the soil than one little dookie nugget for a plant to live. That wouldn't be enough. So, like, to live on Mars is a real crazy undertaking. And I mean, I'm persuaded that these billionaires are working so hard for it because they know it's only a matter of time before the world nukes itself. They know that. They got to know. Allison says, can't trust Elon since he wrote the Baphomet Halloween. Exactly. Also heard his nanny growing up said he would be the one who would had a hand in making and Mark of the Beast and the Antichrist. Makes sense with all the technology, AI, etc. he's involved with today. And he's constantly warning us that AI is more dangerous than nukes. I mean, he has gone to bat against his ex-business partner, who's the one who's like leading the world in AI. But I mean, I have my reservations about Elon too. It'd be great if he ended up being a full-on good guy in the end, but he does dabble with some weird stuff. And if he watches this, which I doubt he ever would, but if he did, I just wanted to know he can reach out to me, and I'd love to talk to him about how this all goes down. If he wants to make a bunch of money off of it, I know good ways to do so, but I don't have the resources, and he does. And it could save the world, not destroy it. I know that sounded really boastful and arrogant of me, didn't it? But if you guys followed me in the past, you know I'm actually not lying. And it's about a very specific technology. And I didn't invent it. I just put the pieces together. I'm not that smart. Teresa says, it's becoming obvious to me now. Think about it and then read the post I made the other. Okay, gotcha. William Stout, what do you feel about New Babylon or the horror that sits on the many waters? Well, I think that's going to be that new coalition that they're putting together to basically replace America in the oil. I think it's going to be an oil-based situation. So is it going to be, it's the Europe, what is the Saudi money thing is it the BRICS? It's not BRICS, right? What is it? What's the name of that thing? BRICS. It's BRICS. Yeah, okay. What's wrong with me? Did they join BRICS though? When did they did, right? They joined something. When was it? Declines BRICS membership. They're joining something. They're putting together their own BRICS. And I feel like that is going to be it. I feel like whatever it is that's going to replace what America has been in regards to the dollar, for the oil dollar, whatever replaces it is going to be that thing you're asking about. And then how they structure that, William, will be many waters, right? So, like, it'll be countries. I mean, because you have to think about it, right? To have a country that has oil is one thing, but your country also has to have a port so you can ship it, because you can't fly oil to other countries. You have to be able to ship it. So the smartest thing to do is to create some type of like oil financial union, and then everything that America figured out and did, the first round, they would mimic, but they would split it up amongst all the nations that would create this union situation, and then they would share that currency, and then they would require the world, if they wanted to buy the oil, to carry that currency exactly like America did. And then therefore the world, whether they like it or not, is financing them to become the world economic leader like America has been, right? And so they as a union would become the only other quote unquote superpower, because America is truly the only superpower in the world. So them as a collaboration would become a superpower if they worked fast enough and were efficient enough, which I think they would be, because I don't feel like these countries, at least right now, not right now, they don't have like this kind of ego issue that America has learned to have. And so, yeah, I think it could work quite quick. And that's what I think it would be. That's what I think is a new Babylon. And then they would impose their ideas and They would also have learned from America that export, is huge. Not just oil, but they would use, just like, so Dubai was built on oil money. And they learned, look, we're not going to have this oil forever. We have to build something with the money we have right now. So they were smart. At least that one prince was smart. And he built Dubai, right? So I think that that's what they would do. They would wise up and they would figure out what is the things that the world wants, and we'll sell it to them, not just oil. And then we'll make our currency even stronger, and we'll make our locations even more popular, just like America has done. And then I believe that that's what it would be. That's my persuasion at the moment. But some people think it's America, and it makes sense because America produces 96% of the world's porn. So there is an ability for America to be New Babylon. But the problem is that I don't see America as it sits now is a New Babylon, because we're not acting as the world government. We're involved in the world's governments, and we're manipulating at times the world's governments, but we're not acting as the one world law, right? So not like the EU or not like the EU is, right? Or the UN, excuse me, like the UN is, right? So yeah, and if I was really smart and I was Saudi Arabia and all these guys, I would force the United Nations to have its official money be our official money. Then you have control of the one world government. Man, I should be in politics. All right, man, because that'd be that would make a lot of sense. That's the way to do it right there. That's probably how it will be done. That's my prediction. There you go. There's my official prediction. As I'm saying it out loud to Mr. William, that's my official prediction. They're going to get the United Nations to agree to receive it as their official currency for exchange, and therefore it will become the official global dollar or money, whatever you want to call it. Of course, it will be digital. There will be no printing, because that's just stupid, right? Printing money is the dumbest thing, because you're like, it's a note. It doesn't even represent it. So, and you're wasting, it's costing money to have your money. And of course, us, that's another thing America's going to have to deal with is the Fed. We're going to have to figure something out with that. Whoever does that is a dead person. So, which probably be Elon, if he's actually going in and looking at all the places where America's hemorrhaging financially. The number one place for sure is going to be, the Federal Reserve and military, black ops, because they spend money and they do whatever they want. They don't have to account for it. So yeah, Elon's crazy. He's going to get killed. They're going to kill him. I'm surprised they haven't already, actually. But he's playing ball with them just enough. That's why he got involved with NASA, if you guys ever wanted to know. That's why he had to get involved with NASA. If he had not gotten involved and in bed with NASA, he'd be dead. I know that much. Exactly. Okay. Did Elon buy YouTube? Mom says in a headline. Saw it in a headline. No. No way. No way that Google would give that up. There's no way they'd give that up. Elon Musk just officially bought. No, this is just it's just people saying he's buying everything. He just bought Apple. He just bought. Yeah, no. There's no way Google is not doing that financially good. Strangely enough, a lot of Google has been sustained by YouTube. Their revenue on YouTube has kept them afloat in many aspects, because they're not doing quite that great. Because they're competing with everybody on the AI stuff, just in case anybody's wondering. They're still a juggernaut, don't get me wrong. Alphabet is a massive company. It's not going anywhere. But YouTube has brought them a significant revenue source, and makes them quite relevant, because they're technically the most watched media in the world. So yeah. We need to pray for Elon, Susan. I totally agree. Therese says, read that post in the other group. You can just post it here, Therese. By the time I read it, it will be days away. If it's really long, I won't be able to read it. You can just give me the summary. I just realized, remember, one of our brothers here is cousins with Trump. Wait, what? I just realized, remembered, one of our brothers here is cousins with Trump. Maybe second cousin. I'll have to double check. In the Yeshua Network ministry or where you live? Well, if he is, tell Trump to watch these videos, and he doesn't have time. Just tell him that a friend of Hal's says hello, and he wants to get in touch with him and help him with what the Bible says the future of America is. That's all you need. Hal and Bill. This is a Nathan Wheeler at Yeshua Network, who you've met before and went out with before in LA, a friend of Hal's and Bill's, says hello, and he wants to help you with what the Bible says about America for the end times. Hello. There you go. Show that clip to that person. All right. We know you're not boasting, Nathan, so thankful for your heart to help people. Hallelujah. I hope nobody thinks I'm boasting. Okay, Teresa. For real, I don't trust Elon as far as I can throw him, but he absolutely cracks me up. Yeah, I don't trust him either. Sorry, Elon. I don't trust you, bud. I just you're too back and forth. AI is the worst thing ever. Here's my new AI. Oh, AI is so dangerous. Let me put a chip in your head. I believe in God is real. God's not real. Your God doesn't make sense. Let me wear a Baphomet outfit. I know it's just a costume. So, I've worn Dracula costumes when I was a kid and a younger person. Like, I can understand it was just a costume, but when you're a billionaire, you gotta walk a little, you gotta walk, you're like, whatever you do is basically magnified, right? Especially when you're a billionaire dealing with chips in people's brains and AI and missiles and electrifying everything. Like, it's just a little, got me on the edge of my seat, Elon. You got me on the edge of my seat, bud. I love so much of what you stand for, and then I'm also like, he's probably playing a role in my demise. He's probably going to be one of the reasons I'm not ear to ear. You know what I'm saying? So, the more I listen, the more dots are connected to the thing I'm talking about, Therese. Awesome. Well, good. Julie Hart. Okay, thanks for checking the YouTube thing. We wondered. Teresa, and someone just sold a whole bunch of his shares in Amazon. Oh, yeah. He always does, though. But this time, just so you guys know, too, when you see billionaires sell like chunk and chunk and chunk, it's not that big of a deal. It's how they liquidate their funds and how they pay their taxes. And even though you're like, but they don't pay taxes. I know. But they have to move the funds into something so that it's a loss or so that it's an investment so they don't pay those taxes. So the billionaires aren't like the value of Elon Musk is all in his stocks. He can go to the bank and he can take loans out on the value of that to have money to move with and invest further into, right? So it's not like he's sitting with that money in his bank account. I know we all know this, but I'm just saying a lot of people, especially Wall Street news people, like to always highlight when a billionaire sells a big portion or a CEO sells a portion of their shares, but it's the only way that most of them can afford to pay their taxes. And if you want to know if it's a real dump or it's a truly negative move, keep a watch on it until basically like the next quarter and see if it's even faster than that. If a billionaire CEO really was dumping their shares because they thought something was up, the market would move afterwards, because the people who invest, like the BlackRock folks and all that kind of stuff, the people who own literally every company in the world, if they saw the CEO or the major owner, Elon or Amazon, what's his name? Why am I blanking? Anyways, that guy, Bezos, right? If they saw them selling a dangerous amount of their shares or a frequent sell-off, they would absolutely sell and they would cause the market to crash. So their stocks would crash, and any of the major seven, they're not going anywhere. They're at the point of the too big to fail. The Magnificent Seven stocks, they're at the point of too big to fail. Not only that, America needs those stocks to keep strong. That's why they do bailouts. So even if they hit hard times, there'd be a bailout. That's just my persuasion. I could be totally talking out of my backside. but they got to pay their dues. Okay. Okay, Teresa says, I'd like to ask a question here if that's okay. It's a question you can answer on the video. That would be okay. I would just ask you oh, wait. Well, I didn't. Oh, I'm seeing it on my other thing. It didn't pop up on this. So I won't ask it live. Hold on a second. Let me see. Sorry, guys. 1 second. It's a good question. Okay, so let me talk a little bit. Sorry, guys. Let me talk a little bit about what I had. If you guys don't know, that move? No, not really. Okay, let me talk real quick. I'm not going to boast, but there's some people are on here some people on here don't know anything about something that happened to me a few years ago. I'm only going to mention it because it does tie into end times to a degree. So I know two people, and I've known them for many years, who both have a technology that when you put them together can replace oil. Means like you don't have to literally put oil in your car, but you also don't have to spend a whole bunch of money to change your car or your jet or your boat or anything. And it can be mass produced, and it can also, at the same time it's being made, clean up the world. So the benefit of this is it's ginormous. Okay. Now, there's no reason for me to bring this up except for the fact that if Trump or specifically Elon were to somehow come across this video and they wanted to talk to me about it, I could prove it. I have some. I have some. I could show it. You could use it. You could test it and do all the things, and you would see that I'm totally telling the truth. And I wouldn't say this if it wasn't, because I know you're going to test it and you're going to look at it and you're going to try it. So there is this technology when you put these two pieces together. Now, there are people who think, well, that means that somebody else has to know it. I'm telling you, nobody does. Nobody has put these two things together, because what happens is that these people in these particular fields, they stay in their own bubble. They're like a horse with blinders. They only see what's right in front of them. I just happen to be a guy who's my hobby since I became a Christian is trying to find every single breadcrumb that will come together and help me to have a better understanding of the end of the world. That's my hobby. When other people are watching TV shows, I was researching what technology is going to help the Antichrist, what thing is going to cause the war, what thing is going to cause the downfall of America, what thing is going to cause us to suffer, what thing is going to cause us to not be able to eat, and what things will help us eat, what things will help us live, what things will help those places that survive, right? This was my hobby. Does that make sense? So there are people who have like other inventions, for instance, like Tesla, right? Like Elon has the idea, he knows that things need to move away from oil and things like that eventually. And so he starts to create this digital or this battery car and all this type of stuff, right? But the thing is that's not actually good for the environment. It's really bad. It's really, really bad for the environment. And we always will have to use oil. The way that we are living today, we will use oil, but we should be using oil for only things like plastics and rubbers and things like that. There are plants and mushrooms that produce plastics that we can use, but there's also mushrooms that will eat plastics and rubber, but we're just finding that stuff out now. But the truth of the matter is that you can't make oil or plastic or computers without oil. So, all this stuff is made from petroleum, the oil in the ground stuff. All of it is made from that. So the whole fact of like mining rare metals and turning them into batteries and that whole deal, that's not really a good thing. It's not. The better thing to do would be to actually create a fuel replacement. Specifically, the way that oil gets used up the most, is you pour it in a car and it gets vaporized, right? That's not like, we don't need to do that there, but nobody's been able to figure out a financial solution to do it. So I've been some from way reason, God allowed me to have friends who had two technologies that I brought together. They don't know each other to this day. They don't know each other. They don't know each other. They know each other exists, but they don't know each other's names. And so you put these two technologies together, and it not only cleans up the environment, it's not only financially viable, but it actually replaces oil within like a year on a massive scale, which makes me the most targeted. If I had been able to do it without a substantial amount of like Elon style money, I'd be dead like no time. Anybody who's ever even come close to, like, I'm surprised Elon's alive, and I know that that's probably part of the questions being asked is, how is that guy alive if he is doing this? He had to let them in. He had to let them in on it. Hence why he teamed up with NASA. So my point is to say is that, like, I would be dead. There's no way that I could make this happen. Even if I had my own money, I'd have to have enough money to have like a president style security. And I'd have to have enough money that I'd have influence in governments and that they would want me to stay alive, because me being alive is going to fatten their pockets. There'd have to be this kind of thing. Does that make sense? And I don't have that type of life, and I've not lived that type of life, and I don't have that type of money. So even if like I did a crowd fund, which is what I was going to do, I was going to do a crowd fund and raise the money to launch this thing. But I would need $600 million to just do a small sample for like a small county, just a small sample. I need like at least 1.6 billion, which in regards of like things that Elon does is nothing. Like that's no amount of money at all. But I would need at least like 1.6 million to get the entire state of Tennessee off of oil. So, but you make your money back within a few years. So it would be a great thing for the whole world to come together and do a crowd fund on, and then the whole world, rather than a government or a rich person or something like that, took place in it. They participated in it. So anyways, I'm bringing this up because somebody prompted me to talk about this. And so my only thing is that if you think about it, why would anybody want somebody dead whose oil replacement cleans up the environment? I'm not talking about the fact that when it poops out the tailpipe of a car or a train or a plane, it's clean. I'm talking about the fact that when it's made, it cleans the earth. Making it cleans the earth, right? So not only is the poop exhaust of it coming out of the car clean, but then the making of it is cleaning the earth. So that's a good thing. You can't think of any reason why you'd want to kill such a person, right? But then when you take a look at what I just said, the American dollar was financed off of the oil. So if you create this type of technology, oil tanks in value. And since the American dollar was based on oil, that's why you have no chance of living. Not just America, but all the countries of the world. You have no chance of living because if the greenback, as they call it, the dollar, is contingent upon the value of oil staying strong and going up slowly over time, and you come in and you tank its value in the moment you release the proof of this thing existing, you're a dead person, because like you just tanked the American economy. You just ruined the American dollar in an instant. But it saves the world. So if anybody were to get behind this, it'd be woke people, right? Because they want to save the whales, they want to save every animal. They want to save the plants. You know what I mean? They want plants to be yummy and healthy and stuff. So you would think that woke people would be all about this, but it doesn't matter who's behind it or who supports it. It's just, you can't have it. It would destroy that economic stability for the governments of the world. So in order for me to do it, I would have to be Elon. I would have to be in his shoes, and I don't have it. If he wants to do it, I'd be happy to talk to him about it. But the fact that I've said this, and this is on the internet for the last 2 years now, and nobody's ever reached out to me, I'm pretty sure that he knows he doesn't want to touch a thing like this. Because as long as he's pulling oil, like as long as he's doing batteries and as long as he's teamed up with NASA, like he's not tanking overnight the value of oil. Now that the United States dollar is no longer a part of being, it's not backed by oil in the Middle East, right? A very smart president or Congress or Senate could say, hey, maybe we start looking at another resource that's better than oil, that's healthier for the planet than oil, and doesn't cost a whole lot of money for all the things that run off of oil to run off of this. Then I would be the hero of the absolute century. Like the last few centuries. I'd be the greatest. I'd go down in history as one of the most significant people to help the world ever. But it would take the American president and the American government to say, well, instead of us being backed by oil, we're backed by this new technology. And then the whole world will want it because they don't have to worry about cars driving on their roads and trains and boats polluting the earth anymore. So the United Nations would absolutely love it because it would totally fit in with their Agenda 30. So, 2030, because it would clean up everything. It would literally clean up everything and all the pollution. It would stop all the stuff they complain about with, gasoline and diesel engines and things like that. It'd be fixed immediately. And the governments of the world have the ability to do this, and it could be in any country. But so it's made from waste or trash to a degree, yeah. But not. So there's a way to use trash and waste to make it. It's not what you think it would be. It's for the millennial kingdom. I don't think so. I don't think Christ is going to need any type of combustion engine when we're in the millennia. But that would be cool if it was. That'd be super cool if it was. But what if it was backed by the cryptos? I just think if you knew you wanted to save people, you'd do it. Just why I asked. Well, so I met with one of the biggest crypto people in the world. I did. I met with I would say the smartest crypto person in the whole world. He created, I think, the most stable crypto situation that there's ever been. I met with him twice, and the problem is his gatekeepers won't pass the message on. So, and I don't think that he'd be interested anyways. It's too much of a. I would have to allow him to see the problem is, I'd have to allow the person to see the secret recipe that technically exists only in my head, and I wouldn't be, if I did that, then there would be no reason for me, right? So it's a thing where I have to have the money. I have to be the one that has the money, because if I just give it to them, then they run and there's no need for me anymore. It's like telling somebody how to make Coca-Cola, right? Like the two people in the world who know the actual formula of Coca-Cola can never fly in the same plane together. They can never be in the same car together. That's literally the rule. There's only two people in the whole world who know the full-on formula of Coca-Cola, and they're never allowed to be in the same automobile together, because if they die, then nobody knows how to make it. So, technically, if I die, I take this thing to the grave with me. But, so yeah. And that's the other thing. Is this worth more than my ministry? No. But I've already met with the biggest crypto name in the world, the best crypto guy in the world. I've already met with him. So, but his gatekeeper is an idiot, and he's not a good guy, which sucks. But I guess, how do you, you have your gatekeepers around you because you trust them, or they've been people who have been with you since the beginning. And what are you going to do? You're going to get rid of those guys? Like, everybody's going to say it's no good, right? So I can't blame him for it. But yeah, he has the ability. He could make this happen, and it would establish his cryptocurrency would be worth. If I attached a cryptocurrency to it, it would blow Bitcoin out of the water within like 2 years. Like it would be the number one cryptocurrency in the world within 2 years. And there's only one cryptocurrency strong enough to stable enough. I'll just say that. That's my clue. There's only one cryptocurrency that's stable enough to do it. And that's the person even though I met him, his gatekeeper won't let me talk to him. So like, not, I've already talked to him. I sat down and hung out with him, but I can't talk to him in the details of the business. If you get what I'm trying to say, I hope this makes sense. The best thing is I need Elon and Trump to invite me to the White House and I have a conversation. And then I'd probably end up dead within a month. But that would be the best thing to happen. So if anybody works at the government, CIA, watching this, and you want to replace petrol with something that will save the planet and is replenishable and heals the planet in its manufacturing and can be made on a mass scale, and all current combustion engines only have to be tweaked a tiny bit, then call me. Reach out to me here at Yeshua Network, and I'm happy to help save the world. But if you're trying to kill me because I have this in my head, just know I don't have that much ambition. I'm happy to stay silent, so if nobody reaches out to me between those two people, it's whatever. There's nothing I can do. I am humble enough to know my place in the world, and clearly it is to struggle to make ends meet every month. So that seems to be where God wants me to be for whatever reason. Hallelujah. So yeah, I am a humble Uber driver. Hallelujah. Yeah, so there you guys go. Therese says, I'd love to see you in a conversation with Elon. You are as smart as him. Well, thank you. Yeah, I think he has a different kind of smarts than me, but I think that I have enough smarts to see things. That's what I think my smart is. I know. I don't need you guys. I don't need to be a big shot for you guys to love me, and I love you guys for that too. I love you guys for that too. I do. That means a lot to me. It means a lot to me that everybody here just loves the fellowship we have, and that's all due to Christ, which is super cool when you think about it, right? The fact that we have fellowship like this and we can talk about things like this, and you know what I mean? It's a good thing. It's a really, really good thing. How cool would that be if Trump and Elon reached out? They're like, all right, prove it to us. And then I did. Tony Morelli, a movie needs to be made about your life. I agree. I agree, but I had the biggest movie producer, a friend of mine, won't return my calls anymore because they won the Oscar, so. My life is weird, you guys. My life is weird. I have all the right connections for a season, and then they turn out it's like I have them for no reason. But yeah, my friend won the Oscar last year, and now he's not answering my calls anymore. But if he made my movie, he'd be the best person in the world to make it. But I don't know if he'll still take my calls anymore. He cares. I love you guys too. God's perfect timing. God's perfect timing, God's perfect will. It may just not be the will for my story to get out there or for my technology to get out there and save the planet. It's all good. It's all good, man. It's not a big deal. But anyways, I hope I answered all the questions. I see I got through everything. I hope that these questions of the end times, I mean, it's kind of like, I will say this, and I've been wanting to make a video to say this, and this one's really long. We're going on 3 hours now, so it's at the end of the video if you remember this. I do want to say this, though. Look, the end times are going to be full of absolute mayhem and confusion. The angels, I don't even know if I think people here believe that I had the experience I had with my NDE. I mean, everything I said has been matching more and more every year, right? So either I'm really, really, really smart to the point that I can mimic being psychic, or, I'm really hearing from the source upstairs, right? It's one of the two. So, but I will say, I think that I think it's not coincidental that I was told to just tell everybody to keep their eyes on the temple. And I know there's so many questions about end times, and there's so many questions about Antichrist and the war and what do we do. No matter the variant of how this works, we all know we all know that it's going to pan out in the way the Bible says. We all know that. So for the record, I just want to say, having things where you can clean your water, having the ability to grow your food, having the ability to have a freeze-dried food where you can just add clean water to it and it hydrates and you can eat it. The only problem is that all those pre-packs, they're super, super high of sodium, and that much sodium will kill you in the long run anyways. So really what you want to do is you want to either team up, or you want to just have your own freeze dryer. And you want to package it right. You want to use those absorbers, those air absorbers, oxygen absorbers, and you want to just not kill your food with sodium, because that's what all those prepackaged, freeze dry MRI type of foods have. They have a bunch of sodium in it. And if you ate that every meal, you'd feel it real quick. You'd start to feel it clogging you up real quick, pour like in your arteries, stuff. So my point is to say, and especially if you're not running, you're not working out because you're trying to, you know, you're just sitting there, you know what I mean? It'll kill you. It'll not be a fun way to go. So, freeze dry your own food, clean up your own water. If you're American, buy all the guns and ammo you possibly can. Create redundancies for protection for you and your family. Or, just be ready to go. Just be ready to go home. I mean, a lot of people, I've had people in this group that will probably leave a post probably in the next 10 seconds and say, hey, I believe that God will just take care of me. And I love that. But I think if you have kids, I think you need to be wiser than that. And I'm not saying that loving and trusting on God isn't wise, although it literally sounds like I just said that. I'm not saying it. I am saying that, God helps those who help themselves. God sees those who put in the work. God didn't say, I will make apples fall from the sky when you get to, Israel. He says, the apples you grow will not decay. The milk and the honey, the milk won't go bad. The produce, as long as you don't sin and as long as you stay within my blessings, your food will not corrode. You won't have mold issues, and you won't have bug issues, and you won't have snake issues and these type of things. But he didn't say, I'm going to make an apple appear in your apple basket every morning. He didn't say, I'm going to make bread appear in your bread basket every morning. He didn't say this stuff. So you grow the food knowing that God's going to protect the food, and so you got to learn how to grow it, guys. And if you're living in the city and you're doing a thing, and it's either one. You really only have one or two choices, in my opinion. You stay in the city and you have a room full of one of your rooms is an empty room, like a bedroom is empty or your living room is empty, and it's just filled with supplies, like end time supplies. I mean, that's one way of doing it, so you can stay in the city if you want. But there's a problem with that life, just FYI, before I move forward. The problem is the psychological issue of that life is bad. And there's a very high suicide probability, and there's a very high fighting even within your family and killing each other. Like, if you do enough psychological research, it's not just enough to have supplies. You have to have things that create healthy psychological existence in a time when the world is ending. So it is my deepest recommendation to get a half an acre, to get 1 acre, get out of the city, drive a little bit farther to get to work, team up with family members or friends and get a little plot of land and grow food. Have a storehouse full of, freeze dried food and the water and all that stuff. But but gardening is proven to increase psychological you know, ideas and mentality, working together as a team to achieve a survival situation, seasonal changes where, you grow one plant one season and grow another plant another season, and then you take like the winter off because nothing can grow anyways, or you're prepping your seeds and your stockpiles and things like that. This is all proven to be psychologically healthy and creates camaraderie. So a lot of people think, well, I'll live where I live in the suburbs or the city, and I'll just eat my MRIs and my freeze dried food, and I'll add water until Christ returns and everything will be fine. Except for the fact that your neighbors will eventually find out you're still alive. They'll realize they never see you growing anything in your yard, and they'll realize that you must have something that is allowing you to stay alive. And it will be only a matter of time before they come to kill you to take it so that their family can live, right? So, and that can happen in the rural areas as well. But as somebody who's now lived in the rural areas, I will say that, you know, they already live in a lifestyle of survival. They know that if their crops don't grow, they don't get paid. They know their mortgage won't get paid. They know their taxes won't get paid. They know their crops have to grow. They also know that they need to rely on their neighbor for favors and trade and bargains and bartering. So like the rural people that the world makes fun of because maybe they have thicker accents or they talk a little bit slower, the meek shall inherit the earth. So, I'd build those relationships, and I would, just be ready to create a healthy environment, or just be ready to go. Just be ready to go. Be ready for that burglar to break in at the middle of the night and shoot you to take your stuff, and that's that. And it's like, so there's not a middle line. Yeah, you're lucky enough that maybe you live in a country that some way somehow doesn't force you to take the mark and says, hey, we're cool, we're going to keep living no matter what the rest of the world does. So you got to really vote, or you got to take to the streets, and you got to really make sure that your leadership in the country you live in won't participate in the one world government. Just won't do it. And then you have to hope that your country doesn't have some type of rare mineral or diamond or oil in it that will make the government want to come and take you over. So it's a lot of there's a lot of stuff, and I know this is not exactly a happy note to end on, but I'm like, you know if I'm not here tomorrow for some reason, I'm gonna go drive Uber again tonight, 7 o'clock. I'll drive probably till 4 o'clock in the morning. If I should get hit again tonight, and get taken out, and I'm not here tomorrow, I'm glad that I at least made this video and said my piece and, gave my last 2 cents. Focus on the temple. Stop with all the noise of the world. The temple building is your compass. The war and the famines are not your compass, because they will come and they will go, and there'll be rumors of war and all that stuff. The Bible warns us that is not your compass. So, just look at that. Wow. Look at it says part 3. Can you guys see me? How weird is that? My computer just glitched. Did it freeze on your end? Somebody doesn't want me telling you this. I don't think it's the man upstairs. I think it's the other guy. I think it's the other guy doesn't want you knowing this, because the angel specifically told me to tell you, keep your eyes on the temple. Keep your eyes on the temple and don't be all messed up by everything. Look at that. It changed the number back to 3. It was on 4. Yeah, I froze. You guys, if you don't think my ministry is supernatural, I don't know what to tell you. My whole computer just froze for a second. It's never done that. Never done that in a live Q&A. And I don't know why it changed my thing back to part 3. That's super weird to me. Anyways, point is, you got that part. Hopefully it didn't cut out too much. Hopefully you heard that whole thing where I was just saying, focus on the temple, prepare yourselves for the end, and one way or another, and vote. You got if your country allows voting, or you can have a voice for who runs your country, you need to start using it from here on out. I don't think as we believers, it's not, I don't know why I say that. We as believers no longer have the luxury of remaining silent and remaining in the shadows. We don't. We do not have the luxury of remaining silent. If we want our families and our friends and even non-believers who may not believe, but we don't want them to suffer the mark of the beast life and the wrath of mankind, we need to be very, very, very clear and loving and kind and non-violent with our requirements of our governments. And we need stipulations put in place now in every country in the world that goes against or is a preset anti one world government participation situation, whether it's in our constitutions or whether it's in our government laws or whether it's in some type of political standard. Like, I don't know, I don't even know what I'm saying, but it has to be like a pre-built in. You're not even allowed to vote for this country to be absorbed into the one world government. And then the only thing is, of course, it'd just be like Nazi style Germany coming in and taking you over. But, then what can you do, right? That's why, and I know a lot of the people, and I am going to end on this. I know a lot of people make fun of America for its love of guns and the self-defense. But I don't think a lot of the world realizes that the reason why a lot of Americans are so reliant on bearing arms is when I think when the world saw what Hitler did and who he become, I think Americans who are Second Amendment defenders and participants, let's word it that way. I think they realize that if a Hitler ever got in charge of America, the world is in a very bad situation because there'd be nobody to stop it. And I believe that the Americans who bear arms and are very excited about the Second Amendment, they are so that a Hitler could never run America. And you're thinking to yourself, if a Hitler ran America, what would you do? Like, you couldn't stop him. No, we couldn't. But he'd have a very hard time enforcing his evil ways. And that's why one of the first things that Hitler did was take the guns from the people. And the left was talking and boasting and yelling and screaming, we're coming for your guns, we are going to take them. So that should tell you which side and which party is more Nazi than the other. That's proof in the pudding. Because the first thing you want to do when you want to take over people and oppress them is take away their ability to defend themselves. And so I think a lot of the world thinks that we're just nut jobs. But in reality, as an American who highly supports the Second Amendment and believes in the reason for the Second Amendment most of all, it's not so that I can go hunt a deer. It's so that if my government ever becomes tyrannical, I can keep it from attacking and taking over other countries and putting its citizens in concentration camps and killing them in mass quantities. That is the reason for the Second Amendment in America. And I think that for all those people in the world who think we're crazy and you want to make fun of us, I think you might want to reconsider your stance on guns. And I think you should change your policies in your country. And I think you all should start stacking up on guns. Because if I was a Hitler, if I was a bad person, the countries that I know do not have citizens that are armed would be the country I would go after. And if you look at the places where Hitler went first and the places that other type of people went first, they went to the countries that were the kumbayas, the kindest, the sweetest, the most, easy to take. So I want to just state that, for those who judge America for that particular thing or you make fun of us about it, we partly do it not only to protect our family and our own country, but so that we protect you, the ones who make fun of us, because we know that we're the last defense from a Hitler, an American Hitler coming and taking you over. So you're welcome. And I've never heard anybody say that online. I've looked for it in videos, and it's shocking to me that no American has ever said, I bear guns so that we never have a Hitler who comes and kills you and your people. That's why we have guns. It's for a tyrannical government. It's not for shooting bears and deer. That's just survival, but that's not why it's in our Constitution. And if America ever had a Hitler, the world would be screwed. So making fun of the citizens who bear guns, I honestly think that you owe us an apology. I do. I think the world owes American citizens an apology for our love for. You know what's interesting? If there is an American who has guns for the reason of the Second Amendment, their ownership of their guns states, I will die for you, the other people in the other countries of the world, rather than sit by and let a Hitler take over the United States. I'm willing to fight so that never happens. Like, so if you ever meet an American who says they support the Second Amendment, you should say thank you. Because I know you do that not just to defend your own family and your own neighborhood, but you do it so that a Hitler will never come and take over our country. You should say thank you. And if you think I'm exaggerating or I'm being a little bit like American hoorah too much, well, it's not, because who's going to stop us? If a Hitler ever became a ruler of America, who would stop him? Only us, the citizens of the country that he lives in. Only us. We would be his Secret Service. We would be his senators and his congressmen, and we would be his cabinet. We would be his military. We would be his generals. It's up to us to stop and say, no, I'm not going to turn my guns onto the public. I'm not going to turn my guns onto the citizen. It's up to us. So I think that America has demonstrated the truest form of with great power comes great responsibility. I think American citizens, who are the ones that get made fun of the most because they have funny accents and they talk slow and they love to shoot guns, get made fun of the most. I think those people are the greatest representation of what it means to take responsibility for the power that God has bestowed on you. I genuinely think that. And I think it's sad that the whole world mocks those Christians, and because most of them are Christians as well, by the way, that most of them mock those Americans and just call them crazies because you don't understand a thing or you've never been explained the heart of it. You know, that's usually when you call somebody crazy, right? And you fear a thing you don't understand. So I'm hoping that in this little clip, you know, even though this is a Christian ministry, it's not one of those, you know, let's go out and shoot stuff YouTube channels. But and I'm not a military, veteran, but I know, and I've talked to plenty enough to know that they're on the same page as me. And I've talked to enough rural people now that I've lived in Tennessee, rural Tennessee. I've talked to enough rural people who are, this is exactly what their heart is about. It's exactly what their heart is about. First and foremost, defend my family. Second most, defend my community. And third, just stop tyranny. And like, yeah, maybe we're a little silly thinking that we're going to stop tyranny, but you have to remember that when you raise a child up in that thought system and they're the ones in the tank and the government says, I need you to go to this community and I need you to shoot your United States tank into a United States, town, that kid's going to remember his parents raising them up saying there might come a day where that happens when you're alive, and you have to make the hard choice of not shooting that community. You have to make the hard choice of basically not becoming an SS member for that future Hitler. You have to make that hard choice, and when you have that tank, it's your responsibility to do right with that tank or that plane or that jet or that bomber or that gun in your hand, right? And I don't know. I just feel like this does not get talked about, and it breaks my heart to see, because I try to watch videos to see what the rest of the world thinks of us. And the world is very vocal about making fun of us because of how many guns we have and how much ammunition we have. And they also appreciate it and they kind of have a respect for it, but there's a lot of making fun of about it and thinking that we're crazy and that it's stupid. Well, why do you need guns? Well, you're welcome. So And in end times, there are going to be a lot of people, unfortunately, sitting in a non-American country thinking to themselves, dang it, those Americans had it right the whole time with all those guns and all those bullets. I really wish I had a bunch right now myself and I knew how to use them really well. But then it will be too late. So that's my end time Q&A part 4, even though the devil hated us and caused it to be wigged out to part 3. This is part 4 still. There's my soapbox for standing on the American Second Amendment and supporting it. And hopefully Elon or Trump will reach out to me. We'll see. I doubt it, but we'll see. I will be doing another Q&A again. We will be doing praise report on Monday, and we will be doing praise or prayer and fasting on Wednesday again. And we will have EBRT this Monday. I know I haven't posted. I will do that right now as soon as I get off. It will be verses Acts 16 and 17. So you guys start preparing, go start reading your Bible so you can leave your comments. And thank you everybody who has been kind and generous with your time and your, I know I've been absent. I know I haven't been making videos the last 3 weeks because I've been going through some really, really tough times again. It never seems to stop. I appreciate you who stick with this and stick with me and stick with this ministry and you participate and you donate. I thank you. I would not be living in my house today if it wasn't for donations made last month. So I can never give the words to say thank you enough that you sustain me. And you know, for anybody who's watching, you don't know me. I know there's a lot of people on this ministry page, but I'm not rich. There's no Bentley in the garage. You know, I do Uber drive, which I really need to do tonight. I do Uber drive. I do make a living from that, God willing, when my car's running and working. And yeah, so I don't want anybody thinking that, you know, when I ask for donations, which I honestly hardly ever do. I didn't even make videos the last 2 months asking for donations. But I do want to say that for those of you who do make those donations, you're doing more for this ministry than I'll ever have words to show. So if you do value this ministry and you do support it in that way, you know, this isn't a ministry that's loaded and there's people like really kicking up and enjoying life, you know, from your donations. It really is that you are actually keeping this ministry going. And I hope that you understand that that's a heavenly treasure for you. I hope that you understand that I do not take full credit for this ministry happening ever. I always want to include your contribution, whether it only be comments is fine, whether you share and hit the like button, it's great, or whether you're participating and praying for people in the prayer request group, or you're participating and posting your testimony or your grace praise report on Mondays, or you're praying and fasting for people on Wednesday with us, whatever it is, or you're in EBRT, whatever your participation level is, you have made this ministry as great of a thing as it is. Because if it was just a talking head, then it would just be the Nathan Wheeler show, and that's not what Yeshua Network has ever been made to be, or Truth Me Free. It's never been made to be that. So I want you to understand that I acknowledge you. I acknowledge the massive role you play, and therefore I know God acknowledges you. So if you think that your comments haven't meant a lot, or you think your donations haven't meant a lot, you're wrong. This ministry is going today. I am going today because you commented. It doesn't even have to be a financial contribution, because you commented and because you participated. So just know, heaven, if you want to tell me and you want to write me nice emails, which I am eternally grateful for, and saying thank you for the contribution you have made, Nathan, in leading this and guiding this and bumper railing it to stay on tracks, let me return the favor and say it wouldn't be what it is without you, though. So if you know you have sown into this ministry, I am telling you right now, God also sees you, and God also sees your contribution, and you do have treasures in heaven waiting for you. So thank you very much. And I know we all thank each other that God has allowed us to come together as the unit we are and the family we are. And what a wonderful thing that we get to have conversations all over the board like we had over the last 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours. So thank you guys very much for hanging out with me today on your Saturday. If you did, or when you watch these videos at any time, I know most of you will play it back and watch and listen in the car or something. But still, I thank you. So I'm Nathan Wheeler. We are Yeshua Network. Be blessed and be the blessing. Talk to you guys soon.